I think music in itself is healing. It's an explosive expression of humanity. It's something we are all touched by no matter what culture we're from. Everyone loves music. Ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, this is Modern Escapism. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. My name is Oodles, the thin white duke of podcasting. Joining me today, should I say, it's the motherfucking PIMP. It's Biggie.
Wow, I'm good.
Cause he's in too deep. It's Gadget.
I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Why? We are the pulse of the maggots. It's Candy.
Yes. Hello. Good choice.
And it's so funny how we don't talk anymore. It's Stig. Cliff Richard joke.
I don't talk, sorry.
Welcome to our second themed month. This month we will be celebrating music, the universal language of love and celebration. But before we get into the show, please consider becoming one of our sexy and incredibly cool patrons to help us divide and conquer the podcasting world. Details are in our show notes, but mainly check out our website, modernescapism.co.uk, for more exquisite content and links to everything we do. And just a quick aside on our patron tiers. What? We thank all the patrons that have donated their hard-earned money to support us so far. This week, though, we have added a new tier, the £1 Supporters Coffee Fund. As treasurer of this motorcycle gang, Gadget has more info on that.
Yes, it's called the Helping Hand tier, and it's £1 per month plus VAT. This one is just if you just want to toss us a bit of assistance, or just to say thank you or anything like that. And for your £1 a month, you'll get our eternal gratitude. You'll get Biggie cuddles wherever he may appear. And he does appear. Yep. He just comes out of holes in the ground. Mm-hmm. You got to watch out for it. Dangerous when he hits the M25. My God. But you'll also get kind of access to any Patreon posts that we put up. So like we put up a feedback post every week. The ability to participate in any polls, which I'll explain in a second. You get access to the kind of the Patreon mail, so you can send us ideas for topics you'd like us to cover on Modern Escapism. And you also get a link to the submission form where you can submit NPCs and item ideas for Do Dragons Dream of Scorched.
Wow, for £1?
For £1.
Plus VAT?
Plus VAT. The other thing is we are going to start doing, so we do these theme months, and we pick everything with these themes. What we're going to start doing is, and this applies to all patrons on the Modern Escape East tier and the Biggie Bundle tier, you'll be able to, we're going to put a vote out for the last episode of the month of what you can choose. We'll put 3 or 4 ideas out there, and the patrons get to pick which it is. It's the Patreon's choice.
From as little as £1 plus VAT, come on!
Again.
What are you waiting for? But enough of that boring corporate shilling. It's time for the segment that has taken a life of its own. And now with 30% less Marvel discussion, it's Biggie's breaking news.
You may already know, but he doesn't, because it's time for Biggie's breaking news.
That's right, old news brought to you first. And football has finally come home. That's right, the Lionesses beat Germany 2-1 in the Euro final 2022. Well done, you girls.
Well done, ladies.
Sensational.
Amazing stuff. And that first goal was insane.
Mate, I was shit missing its second half.
It's because as an England fan, we're too accustomed to things are going to go wrong. And then Germany score with like 10 minutes to go. And you're like,
not
things
penalties,
are going
wrong.
But no, they fucking dug down deep and won. And they won. It's fucking mint.
I tell you what, that last like 5 minutes in second half for extra time where they were just playing in corner, I was like, yes, that's a tactic that the England men should start taking out. Start doing those little. It's kind of a play that they're doing like American football, like keeping the clock going, keeping the clock high.
They tried to do that. Unfortunately, England's men scored in the second minute, and trying to do that for another 90 minutes. Kind of
Keep doing it.
fell flat, yeah.
Yeah, sensational,
That Rev,
fantastic.
she must be used to doing all the birthday cards at home because the amount of cards she gave out tonight.
Was it 7 in total?
That's
Something like that.
insane.
Absolutely.
It was a
Brutal.
fast-paced game. I'm so impressed. Just
Yep.
the amount of running they all done. Both teams, just insane. Absolutely insane.
Absolute testament. Fantastic news. Fantastic. So, yes. Next.
Well done to them. Speaking of the Euros, the UK will be hosting the Eurovision Song Contest next year after organisers decided it could not be held in the winning country, Ukraine, due to obvious ongoing war. The
Makes
Ole,
sense, really.
excuse the pronunciation, I think it's Ole Pasuuk, the lead singer of 2022's winners
Nailed
Kalush
it.
Orchestra, expressed his gratitude to the UK for holding the event in support of the country.
Yeah, we're holding it for them, really, aren't we? I think it's a nice bit of solidarity, really.
I'm excited
But
to
we've got-
try and get tickets. But I
But
really hope
it's-
we do it as if we kind of co-host with them. It would be nice to have an
No,
English
it's the
host
UK.
and-
We're going to milk the shit out
I
of
know.
it.
But I'm
There'll be
just saying
Union
it would
Jacks
be nice.
everywhere. There's going to be no Ukrainian flags at all.
We'll be getting Ukraine nil point every fucking time.
What it'll be is like, it'll start out with a big presentation of Ukraine, and then someone will hit a button, and all the flags will turn to Union Jacks.
God, imagine how
Awful.
pissed Graham Norton's going to be doing the commentary.
Oh,
God.
so pissed. Giggling. Ugh.
Yeah, but yeah, it makes sense. Like, unfortunately, yeah, they can't do it, and with the UK coming second, a joint host kind of to let them host. Really, it should be them that it should be Ukraine that present it. I don't really know how it is presented. To be honest, I don't really watch it.
I've never watched it either, but it's like, wait.
Basically, whoever wins it hosts it the next year.
I know that bit. I just don't know how it's like.
I don't even know what to
do. They
do.
usually add a bit of flavour of their own country into the presentation stuff.
They
Yeah.
tend to do like little clips of like in between the acts. They show clips of the country and cities and stuff. So just whilst they're breaking down the stage and setting up again.
They'll have artists come on from the country that aren't related to Eurovision, but or like personalities hosting different bits and pieces of it. So
Sadly, again, we've had a couple of actors retired this week. It seems to be an ongoing thing. It's not a best start.
it's ever since we started
halfway
doing
through the
Biggie's
years.
breaking news, they're dropping like flies. I'm wondering if there is a curse to this segment.
Maybe.
But sadly, we lost British actor David Warner, one of my favourites from The Omen and Tron, of course, aged 80. He was also in Titanic, Time Bandits, and Straw Dogs, as well as renowned for Hamlet.
Yeah, fantastic.
The
Fantastic bit
RSC.
of work.
He's that meme of the crying man, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's the other person that's retired.
Yes, it is.
And speaking of which, it's Paul Sorvino, actor best known
Not him.
as the mobster, Paulie Cicero in Goodfellas. We've lost two from Goodfellas this year.
Yeah, I know. It's in such a close space of time as well.
Yeah,
Fucking hell,
he
man.
was
Fucking
fantastic
hell.
in that, amongst
Oh,
other
God,
roles that he's done.
he was
but
sensational.
he'll always be remembered.
The
for when
cooking
he's
scene
chopping
when
the
they're in
garlic.
prison.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
my God. So good. One of my favourite scenes ever.
Have you ever actually tried
Listen,
shaving
love it.
garlic though? It doesn't work.
Nope.
I tried it.
No, it doesn't.
It was a lie.
It's a mean Italian trick that he was playing on the world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was,
moving on from that.
I was just
sorry,
saying,
go on.
actually, it's Bernard Cribbins, the
Yeah.
other actor that's passed away this week.
Yes.
I unfortunately
Oh, of
got
course,
mixed
yes.
up there.
It was in Doctor Who.
Doctor Who,
And many
Real
other
World
things.
Children, Wombles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another kind of British Institute as an actor, to be honest.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. bloke.
93, he passed away. So,
And yes, solidified by the crying meme, which hopefully goes on in his honour. I know no one wants to become a meme forever, but it's a testament, isn't it? In a way.
moving on from that, we got a single-player open-world RPG announced, Black Panther. But unfortunately, it will be published by EA, so who knows what will happen with that. Let's hope it goes all the way, but they
So-
do have a habit of cancelling games.
So a single-player open-world RPG in the Marvel. It's going to be microtransactions all the way through. Microtransactions from the top to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy.
Unless they do what they did with the Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order. You never know. I know they weren't officially them. They've just published
it's
that.
open
didn't they?
world.
Yeah.
It's an RPG. It's microtransaction city.
Yeah.
It's
gonna
unclear
be,
if
innit?
the main character be T'Challa at this point, so we'll have to see what they decide. Because obviously, Black Panther can be anybody, really.
Well, he's not T'Challa in the books anymore. Not for a long time.
I think they'll keep it as T'Challa because with these games they don't have the image rights anyway, so it's it can just be a made up looking T'Challa.
30% less Marvel. Let's go.
You sticking with Marvel? Daniel Cretton, who helmed last year's Shang-Chi, he has come aboard to direct what was mentioned last week, the Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, wherever you're from. Dynasty.
You and that word.
I don't know what this means.
Whether
he's going to whether Shang-Chi 2 is coming in between that then or not, because he's attached to direct Shang-Chi 2. The only time that can come is at some point between Fantastic Four and the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
No, now you've got me questioning whether it's Dynasty. Yeah, fuck off, fuck you, Biggie.
Funny,
so
isn't it?
is Shang-Chi gonna be post all this, or is they going to sneak it in there, or is he just going to...
I think they might sneak it in there, because when they were doing the announcement, there were a lot of kind of spots that could be filled with something. There's quite a few gaps in the Phase 4 and 5 and 6 lineup.
Maybe they're on with it already, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Didn't it say at the end of Shang-Chi that he will return?
Yeah, I know all of them.
Oh, I've never noticed, to be honest.
I think there's that Disney
say
convention
them
as well coming up, isn't there? And I think they were probably saving a couple of announcements for that. Is it D20 this year?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, they probably were holding stuff back for that specifically. They don't want to release everything at Comic-Con.
Next! No more Marvel?
No, moving on to something even worse. We're talking about WWE. 4 of the 2K games have now quietly been removed from sale, from Steam, consoles, etc., from all the stores. Apparently, they put an announcement out saying on the 30th of June 2022, it would be time for the WWE 2K20 servers to take their retirement. See, they use what we use, and stop online services. 2K warned in a brief customer support 2 months ago.
To be fair, those games are fucking they're riddled with bugs and absolute...
I was just about to say, does anyone play the older ones when the newer one comes out anyway?
I still think it's a bit of a shit turn where it's like 2K20 is 2 years old and they're turning it off. Like, granted, it's the most memed game in existence because it was utterly broken upside down and inside out when it was released.
They all had really long arms.
Or eyes bleeding out of their heads.
It's the best one is that referee that arm just kind of spins round and through his body and then like gives a thumbs up and you're like, what's he doing? Like, he's possessed.
I thought it were a feature.
I mean, that one should have been a feature.
They missed out 2K21 because they scrapped it and rebuilt it from the ground up. So it's understandable where they've just kind of gone, don't play them. And to be fair, the new one's actually, if you're a wrestling fan, meant to be really good. They've actually fixed a lot of the stuff.
Who knew that giving the developers a decent amount of time to make the game would make it work and better?
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, rather than just trying to put new character models and features into an old system. It basically
Are you listening, FIFA? Are you listening?
Just kept adding on, like from like 2K16, and just added on every year, but just, oh, well, this wrestler's out, this wrestler's in.
Yeah,
but not fixing the code.
Next.
Grand Theft Auto 6 has had quite a bit of news this week. Apparently, it will include a playable female protagonist for the first time. The character of
God, is it 2022 or what? This should have been years ago. This should have been years ago.
Although, as the internet does, they all kicked off and said, well, actually, there have been protagonists since way back in 1997 that were female, including the original GTA had 4 female protagonists.
It did.
It's not
but
the
girls
same,
can't shoot guns. Everyone knows they've got no aim.
They were literally like top-down character models that looked exactly the same as the men. None of them really
they had ponytails.
Ponytails,
because all girls have ponytails as well.
But do you know what I mean? It's not the same as what we've had since GTA 3, is it?
Is it folk?
So it's
ridiculous.
I think it's. I'm welcoming it. Apparently, it's going to be like a Bonnie and Clyde style storyline.
That is what's really gripping me. I'm like, ooh, yes, let's keep it heavy narrative.
And in Vice City.
Oh, that's the bit I'm excited about.
Yeah, set in Miami.
Mm-mm-mm.
Give me those, give
I
me,
like
give me
which
those
I'm
linen
happy
suits and
about, but
pastel shirts.
Yes.
I totally get all that. My only concern really is that I feel like they should have maybe gone somewhere else for a change, something different.
No,
but
I think they should do
more-
something
more
really
Vice
clever
City
and
is cool.
brave. They should be brave, and I know Rockstar aren't that brave. They should do Vice City 70s. You're talking. Now we're talking. What a decade for weird fashion, and like Florida itself's booming. Everything's happening. There's stuff with Cuba going on, like the 80s, but a bit more heavy-handed. I think 70s would be prime. All those wooden cars. Oh man, it'd be so good. So good. Do it. Be brave. Bonnie and Clyde in 70s. Oh.
And of course, Rockstar, assuming it's successful, will continue to update the game over the time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis, apparently.
It's going to all be online. I predicted this. Next.
There's going to be a new, or has been a new beta out for the PS5, which is adding some additional community requested features. They're rolling out
Cheaper games.
1440p support, game lists. I mean, why do they wait so long before they go, yeah, people might want to put things in folders because lots of games. And additional other updates could be coming that way.
We had folders on
they've
PS4, didn't we?
Yeah, like
it took them,
four
again, ages to add
years
it.
into it.
Hey, let's not throw stones in glass houses because Nintendo, they haven't changed their UI once.
Yes, and you still suckle at their teat.
Yes, but look at the themes you've got, the options you've got white and you've got black. Whoa.
And you still say the Switch is your favourite console.
It is. It's so good.
To be fair, that Switch UI is spot on. Nothing
It's
wrong
fine,
with
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah, it's about as good. It's about as good as it needs to be, isn't it? It doesn't need to do anything fancier.
Yeah.
And speaking of Sony, they've revealed that 79% of all of their PS5, PS4 games were sold digitally. So since their increase for the start of the fiscal year of 2022, 13% boost. So compared to previous years, 71%, then it dropped down to 62%. So although they're still having issues with their forecast of how many consoles they're going to be selling, because they expected to ship something like 18 million by this time this year, and they're still down to about 2.3 million. So obviously the chip
Extent made 18 million.
supply
That's why.
issues and eBay scalpers have caused massive issues.
Well, the thing is, if it's
consoles out.
eBay scalpers, they've still been sold, haven't they? Sony have still sold them.
Yeah, they don't care.
It's still a chip issue, and they're also talking about, or they haven't unconfirmed that they're raising the price next year as well. Apparently, the PS5 are going up.
Everything's going up. Everything costs a fortune to create. It's one of those sad things, unfortunately. Got to roll with it.
Well, actually,
PS5s now.
That's the one thing. Actually,
Apparently-
I forgot to put the news story into the document for you, Biggie. But the Meta Quest 2 is going up in price next month. So
that shows me that they're expecting something coming out.
So the 128 gig version, which is the bottom one, you currently buy it now for £299, and it's going up. It's going up to 400. So
Get on Klarna. I'm going to get it on Klarna.
yeah, they're basically chucking £100 on it from next month. So if you want one, buy today.
Fuck.
And just quickly going back to
Steal
Sony, they
today.
also apparently mentioned that the amount of active users on PSN dropped by 4 million in the latest quarter. So I personally think they left any competition for Game Pass way too late. And what they've announced
Way
now,
too
as
late.
we've talked about before, is okay. It's fine for new joiners to PlayStation. It's a fantastic deal. Yeah,
I still
they left
think
that a bit
the
too late.
majority of PlayStation gamers are single-player gamers. Really, I still think that is the console for that.
I would probably agree with that.
I can't imagine even half of people that own PS5s have got PlayStation Plus. I can't see it. I never get it on direct debit. I always get it the month I want it.
I think there's a big FIFA kind of scene on.
Yeah, there will
PlayStation.
be. There will be because they've been playing it since PlayStation 1. They're used to that controller type and stuff. And some people don't like change, but I still think majority of PlayStation that's why they're all their first party are all single player games and stuff. It just adds up, doesn't it? It tracks. Next.
MGM has lost the film rights for Tomb Raider, and a bidding war has
what we're
apparently
going to
begun
do?
Get another
to try
reboot.
to try and acquire the rights so that they can release another.
I want another
version of
Lara
Tomb
Croft
Raider.
origin story, please, because that's all we need in life. Fucking hell, this is about a Spider-Man now, isn't it?
The
Oh,
new
Batman's
game.
worse.
Oh, Batman, yeah. The pearls. Ugh.
Some of the plans for a new Tomb Raider game has apparently been leaked, and apparently it could have an experienced Lara Croft leading a team of Tomb Raiders. Nice play on the word there.
Oh, my word. It's just,
So,
I don't know. It's news to me that's like, I'll just... Tomb Raider, I like the Tomb Raider games. It's always one of them, I'll just wait for a score, see what it gets.
Mm.
It's hard to get
It's always
excited
been the
by.
same.
Yeah.
Last Tomb Raider I really got excited about was the reboot, and I absolutely loved it, and it shattered all my illusions of what it could be. And I like the other two afterwards, but it's never a day one for me. It's always, 85 on Metacritic. I'll get that when it's 20 quid.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Totally agree.
Shame.
Speaking of which is not related at all, Ben Affleck will return as Batman in
Speaking of Tomb Raider, Ben Affleck.
he knows Angelina Jolie.
Probably.
Ben Affleck will return as Batman in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Oh.
I don't think it'd be having Amber Heard in that.
You think? They spent millions getting rid of it.
Just why it's flogging a dead horse at this point. The DCE
It
is
is.
just
Mate,
pretty
Aquaman
dead.
2 and Aquaman 2, what am I about? Aquaman fucking made millions. People fucking loved it. I thought it was bang average. People
It's
fucking
only because
loved
of Jason.
it.
Yeah, they
Jason
don't like
Momoa.
Aquaman. They like Jason Momoa.
I get it.
That's
He's
how
a
they got
very
me.
handsome man.
I would say that's why Candy
but-
spent a mortgage payment going to see it.
He is wet all the way through it, and there's big crabs and stuff in it. It's an all right. I didn't get it. I was like, why? It's what the same thing I got with Avatar. Why does everyone love this? It makes no sense to my feeble little mind. But here you go. It is what it is. Ben Affleck.
Leonardo DiCaprio apparently will star in The Wager for Apple TV. With Martin Scorsese set to direct. So they've obviously worked together before.
I'm into it.
Follows a trial where a British crew survives shipwreck, and 6 months later, another crew washes ashore and claims they were actually mutineers.
I'll kind of watch
Intriguing.
DiCaprio do anything, really. I think he's one of those leading men that always draws me in. I think he's sensational. But again, some people are like, Leonardo DiCaprio from that Titanic. Fuck off. That's not him anymore. Do you know what I mean? He's
It's
an
class.
Oscar winner. It's fucking sensational.
For the wrong
DiCaprio,
film as well.
sensational.
But never mind.
For the wrong
This time
film,
he
yeah.
survives the shipwreck.
Yeah, I'm up for it. It's Scorsese, so it's going to be a nice 4.5 hour film or show. It's going to be a 25-hour show. It's going to be massive. Giving Scorsese, the man that needs an editor, a full show. Fucking hell, it's going to be 94 episodes.
Maybe they've just told him it's going to be a film.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be 4 episodes. It's going to be like, good film. Like, it's not a film, Martin. It's not a film. Bless him.
Next up, now I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it Zoom? Is it Z-A-U-M? I just realised I don't know how to
Zaum.
pronounce the developer's name.
Zaum.
Yeah.
Who, of course, the developers behind Disco Elysium, apparently doing a sequel set in Jamrock Quarter.
No. They're hiring for the next game. The person who tweeted that story as saying, "My money's still on a Disco Elysium sequel set in the Jamrock Quarter." They've not confirmed anything, just that they're hiring.
It'd be nice to see a new IP from them, see if they've got anything else there, see if it's not a one-trick pony.
I mean, I'd happily see more Disco Elysium.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. No arguments from me there, but it's nice to see them do a completely different genre, see what they've got under the belt.
Just keep doing that genre. I'm happy with that kind of like CRPG kind of thing, expertly written, takes
me
on
too,
politics. But yeah, no, just don't fuck with what they're excellent at.
Just like to see different...
I want to
Do
see
you
more
walk up to
ways
Gordon
which
Ramsay
they
and
can
say,
make-
"I'd love you to make me a Big Mac"?
He did it. He did that on YouTube once. You remember? And he was shocking.
I want to
Shocking.
see what other ways they can make Harry die.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Either way, I'm excited to whatever they do. I'm there for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next,
And finally, A24's
I have to remind him
wonderful
every time.
comedy, Everything Everywhere All at Once, has finally cleared a major box office milestone, and it's hit 100 million in global ticket sales. Thoroughly deserved.
It's also the first A24 film to do that.
It's great that like people are going out the way now to see non-blockbusters. It's like a cinema renaissance, and fucking lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's nice to see weird films getting attention.
Yeah. I've not seen any like fuss over a film, like a weird indie film, since like Donnie Darko. You know what I mean? On that level, because Donnie Darko was a massive like cultural like zenith at that point. I mean, it came out perfectly when it needed to, and this is it's done the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It was weird the way they released it as well, because it's not like it was released one day and then it was just out for a couple of weeks and then left. They released it in a couple of cinemas for like a day or so, and then took it away again, and then they waited for the reviews to come out. And then released it again for another week. I think there might have even been a third wave as well. So they were definitely like dipping their toe in, but I wonder how that affected the profits from it. I
think whichever streaming service grabs that first, they'll do big numbers. Big numbers. Cool.
That's
Is that it then, Biggie?
Yeah.
Excellent,
just over to Candy for the final word on sport.
Oh yeah, big sporting. 10 out of 10 sports this week. Actually, it was 10 out of 10 sports this week, so yeah, I can't even joke about that. Come on, the Lionesses.
Yes! Absolutely sensation. Right, let's get on with it. It's Nexus time, and I want to know what Gadget's been doing. What have you been doing?
So I have been... I started reading a new book this week, which I'll get into when I finish it, but it's called Do You Dream of Terror 2? And it's a science fiction novel by a British author called Temi O. It's fucking brilliant so far. Big recommend, but I'll go into it properly when I've finished it. But I just want to tell people, go find this book. The main thing I've been doing is I can't believe it's taken me so long to start playing it, considering I love the original so much. But I've been playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS5.
Good game.
It's 30% less Marvel.
I know. But also kind of 10% more PlayStation, so it averages out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. It's just a really fucking good game. Like, I loved the...
It's brilliant.
I loved Insomniac's first stab with like the main game, Spider-Man, on the PS4. I adored that game inside out. I thought it was one of the best superhero games ever made. Kind of gave me the vibes of Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. You know, that's kind of what I wanted from it, and it delivered. And the Miles Morales one is just a little bit more of the same. It's not as long as
I think it's a little bit better.
I like Miles as a character more than the way that Insomniac did Peter Parker.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
He just seems a bit more earnest and honest about things. But it might be because he's
just cool.
Yeah, it might be because he's early on in his career, he's learning to be Spider-Man, whereas in like the original game, Peter Parker's like 8 years into being Spider-Man, so he's just kind of gotten used to it. But this tells the story. It's kind of like the first time that Miles has to look after the city without Peter Parker being there, because Peter Parker goes on a Christmas holiday somewhere. So you're
on holiday.
Yeah, you're looking after New York City by yourself and discover some grand massive conspiracy as the Tinkerer has come to town with the underground gang, and they all have these incredibly overpowered weapons, and you have to just fuck their shit up. All the while there is Roxxon just being a bunch of dicks. I mean, yeah, it's a very unsubtle stab at Exxon, which I'm fine with. But no, it's really good. The lad who plays Miles is absolutely brilliant at playing the role. I'm playing it on the PS5, and I'm using the Performance RT mode for it.
The middle one.
Yeah, well, so the game doesn't have native 4K. It's checkerboard, so it does like a half-scaled version of 4K. Then it's like a 2K image that it upscales. So I didn't want to go with performance mode because I didn't want the 30 frames a second. The Performance RT mode gives you the ray tracing and it gives you all that stuff at a variable resolution, but it's 60 frames a second, so it looks beautiful and it runs beautifully, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's got so much detail in the city. Like New York is like, I think it's a bit smaller than the actual New York, but you get a lot of space to play around. It's really still a lot of fun to swing between the buildings. Miles's quips are great because he's like learning how to be a cool superhero, so he's kind of fucking things up every so often. Like you'll finish a combat encounter and he'll just say at the end of it, "Oh man, I thought of a good quip," and then he's disappointed in himself for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
The kind of cast of characters around him, they're all really well realized and well executed. It's just really fucking good. And I
Solid,
like
isn't it?
I like the what's it called? The venom powers, the electricity stuff that Miles has got. And I think because you've got these extra little bits of the tool set, because Peter Parker's powers are climbing up the walls and swinging, and then he's got his gadgets. Whereas with Miles's ones, he's got these extra powers, so he can like use electric attacks, he can go invisible. It gives you a whole new element to it. Like you don't have those shitty stealth sections that you had in the main game, which everybody hated.
They were so shit.
But the stealth sections,
Mary Jane ones.
yeah. But the stealth sections you do get remind me of the combat rooms in the Arkham games. Where you get to sit on the rafters,
they do.
you go invisible, and like anytime I get spotted, I'm just going back to the last checkpoint because I want to do it without getting spotted because Miles is a stealth character, and it's so fun to pull it off and like work out the puzzle of how do you get these guys away from each other. And it's so good. I love it. I really enjoy it. So I'm about halfway through it. It's not a long one. Like the original game's like a 20-hour game. I think this is a 10-12-hour one. But yeah, I'm just enjoying swinging through New York again. Like they've just really nailed that movement and that motion, and it's just really satisfying to play. So
I picked it up when I first got PS5. I picked it up when I got the Spider-Man, the original one, or the PS5 version, that for free. I was like, woo! Yeah,
you got the remastered version.
Yeah, it was like 25 quid in a bucket somewhere. I was like, yes, let's go.
This I just got from the game catalog thing because I upgraded my PS Plus to play straight.
Yeah, it's on there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's on there. So I've got that, and I've got Ghost of Tsushima to play. So once I'm done with Spider-Man, I'll do Ghost.
I like Ghost of Tsushima. A lot of people didn't like it in the end, but I like it a lot.
I just want to wander around the countryside.
I never finished it.
Just come out on.
It's just come out on
Steam
PC.
as well.
Yeah, not the Miles Morales version. Just
no.
Spider-Man
I'd love to see what
remastered.
it looks like on the Steam Deck, but I'm not going to pay 50 quid for a game I've played. Maybe one day when it's like in a Steam sale for $5.
Give it a year. It'll go into a Steam sale for like super cheap. Stick it on your wish list. But yeah, that's kind of all I've been doing this week. Is just playing through Miles Morales. And in fact, probably
you didn't watch the football then.
Actually, no. While the football was on, I was editing Alien RPG.
Oh right, I've heard of it.
Which will be out by the time you're listening to this. So go watch that on the Scorched YouTube channel.
Always plugging this guy.
You gotta think about it, man.
Pro. Excellent. I'll go next. Not much because something big happened this week in terms of media for me. But I did start watching Supernatural on the back of, I think his name was Pointy Iguana in our Discord. He just put up a thing saying, "Oh, there's an episode with Scooby-Doo on." I like Scooby-Doo, and I started watching a show from like 10 years ago, Supernatural.
A lot longer than that.
Oh,
Is it?
Yeah, it's what,
mate. They've all got flip phones. They've all got little flip phones.
So you got to see Soldier Boy in his original incarnation.
Oh, he's always been fit though, hasn't he? Wow, he's a bonny lad, him. He's a bonny boy. But yeah, it's about two brothers, Soldier Boy and not Soldier Boy. Even though I've watched the first season, I still don't know the name. I think it's Sam and Dean. That's it, yeah. Got there. Sam and Dean. They are basically Mulder and Scully, but if Mulder and Scully was stuck together and created one person, but they're both that as well. It's basically emo X-Files, isn't it? The whole thing is like emo X-Files. Like a rock and roll twist.
Don't forget Sam's love for his car.
He loves that, mate. That car's. Do you know what? I thought I really like that car until he starts turning it on and driving it. It sounds fucked.
It does.
it sounds fucked constantly.
But it's the truest love you'll ever encounter,
isn't it? Something like that, like a Dodge. I think they say Impala, Impaler. I don't know what it is. It looks like Blade's car anyway. It's fucking. Do you know what? It's all right. It's proper like CW shit. You know what I mean? It's proper like daft. And I've got through season 1. However, I haven't watched like 21 hours since like 2 days ago. I've used a handy cheat guide on the internet called episodesyoucanskip.com. It's basic. I basically watched like 9 episodes because a lot of them don't fucking matter. Not, you know, it does what the X-Files does with 4 episodes will be Monster of the Week, proper inconsequential shite, and then 2 episodes will be story, like overarching plot. And I've just done that. And it's a nice overarching plot. It's about 2 guys wanting to like find the dad and find a demon. Oh, they say the word demon a lot in there, and it's all right. It's a laugh, and I'm on season 2 now. I'm continuing to use episodestoskip.com. It's I'm going to be.
It's like 17 seasons. You're going to need that website.
Oh yeah, mate. There were one. They were like, skip this on the website. Skip this episode. It's shit. I went perfect. That's all I need to know. that's the kind of stuff I need. But yeah, while I was watching that, I was playing my main.
Coming as well.
I don't know if I'm going to get through all this, mate, first. I don't know. It's fun. I like the vampires. I like the episode I liked the best so far was one with a Grim Reaper type old man in a suit, and it was spooky and cool, and I liked the play on the Reaper myth. But yeah, while I was watching this, obviously I can't just consume one media at a time, can I?
No.
I was playing the big release of the week for me. Stig, you'll not be interested in this. Close your ears for a bit. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 dropped this week, and
yes,
this has been on pre-order for me since Father's Day. My wife saw me watching the trailer a good few times, so she's like, "I'll get you that." I went, "She's not out for ages." She went, "Well, be patient," and it's paid off. Who knew that patience could pay off? Because it dropped that morning, like 9 o'clock at that morning of release. And I've put it in, and I have done 10 hours of it already. Dropped on Friday.
Completed it then?
No, it's a 200-hour game, this one.
That's doable for you.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So, for people that don't know, it's made by Monolith Soft and Nintendo. It's Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but it's like the 7th game in the franchise. The Xenoblade or Xenogears or Xenosaga franchise. Think of it like Final Fantasy. Not many of them are linked, but they are. The Xenoblade games are linked by an overarching plot, but you really, really don't need to play them all. And trust me, I really didn't like Xenoblade 2 at all, but I got through it. I didn't really like it. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 takes place in the world of Ionius, fucking shite name, where the mechanically proficient nation of Keves and the ether-oriented nation of Agnes. Ether is, how do I put this, the live stream, Final Fantasy 7. You understand? That's what ether is. Ether-oriented nation of Agnes are at a constant war with each other. The wars are fought by engineered soldiers with artificially limited lifespans of 10 years, all 10 of which are spent on fighting. And that's what drew me in straight away. The actual backstory and synopsis to this is fucking cool. So these people are created in a lab or in a machine. They're born at 10 years old, right? And from 10 years old, they've got 10 years to just constantly fight. That is their job, to fight the other side in a big, massive world. If they die, the other team absorbs their life force to fuel their city, and they're what they call a flame clock. These flame clocks fuel their city. It also keeps them alive. They've got flame clocks in their eyes. I know it sounds stupid, but it's just a metaphysical thing to show that if they don't kill, they die. And it's that constant butting heads, like, we've got to do this, we're bred to do this. We won't. Once they get to 20 years old, if they've done the full 10 years, they get to ascend. Now, very early on in the game, in like first hour, the main character realizes that ascension is basically just getting killed as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, like your Soylent Green and things like that. Those old classic sci-fi tropes where why are our lives getting cut short? What's happening? Who's in the background? Who's behind the curtain doing this?
Are they essentially doing a weeby version of Cats here? Are they going to the heaviside layer when they get to 20 years old?
Yeah, I can see the reference there. But this is straight up the character that you play is, he's what they call a seer or something along those lines, where He plays a little flute. Remember Yuna in Final Fantasy X where she saw the dead away? He does that. And he's just getting sad and sad and sad. And he's realised, you know what? I'm fucking done with this cycle. This shitty cycle. And he ends up getting his team, because he was born with his friends, obviously they're all the same age, and they become outcasts, and they're trying to free the other colonies, and it's proper tropey, but it's proper mature, if you get me, because it's talking about like limited lifespans and stuff like that, and is war the answer? But it's the gameplay that really fucking nails it. Like, I shown Gadget some of the clips of the battle system. He remembers the other Xenoblades. They're slow, aren't they? The others, they're really slow.
The other ones are really really slow and really plodding. Like they tried to like iterate on that Final Fantasy 12 kind of like active time battle, but you're able to move around the arena thing. But I remember specifically was with the first Xenoblade Chronicles with Shulk and the Monardo.
Monardo.
The way you handled abilities kind of live in the fight sucked, because you had to remember what these little icons meant in terms of attacks. Nothing actually just said hit him with the big bastard sword. It was all kind of like swirly icons and stuff. It did me fucking head in. So I was playing on 3DS as well, so it's a tiny screen to look at these little symbols on.
Dude, you had to balance positioning as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you had this topple mechanic where big enemies, you had to topple them over to really give them damage. Now, the quality of life improvements on this are fucking massive. Like, the topple and stuff still exists, but it's an automatic thing. The more damage you hit, the more likely they either fall over.
Oh, that's better.
You know, like Monster Hunter, where the more you hit them, they just get weakened. It's like that, and it's just super fast, super fluid. The graphics on this game, I don't know how they've done it.
It's witchcraft.
If this were on PC, you'd be like, wow, oh, okay, yeah. It's if those of you who don't know that Monolith Soft, they're the guys that created the world for Breath of the Wild. Now imagine Breath of the Wild's world, but full of stuff, not empty, and beautiful and vast. And like the other games were like, they were like positioned where the world, where you're on top of big giants, so the worlds are ever moving. This hasn't alluded to any of that. This just looks like you are in a normal world with rock. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of giving it this grand adventure. This almost we're off to Mordor vibe, which I fucking love, where it's like, we've no fast way of getting there. We've just got to walk, guys. We've just got to get there. And we will get there and have adventures along the way. There's like a lot of mini adventures in the way. And it does what I've wanted them to do for so long. It just cuts out all shit side quests.
Oh, thank Christ.
Gone. No stupid fetch quests. There are very odd, and I mean sparse, things where they'll say, oh, can you gather these while you're on the way? Not go out your way to do all this. And it's just, there's just something about it. Like, it's not going to make someone like Stig play it, because he's just not interested in it. But for someone that's bounced off that series, this is fucking perfect. Again, I don't know how it runs like this on a Switch. Don't get me wrong, I had it on handheld today. Getting warm, that console. It was getting warm. But yeah, it's just like the draw distance is fantastic. They've cut corners, so like certain bits when you walk in and you see the blades of grass, they might pop in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit of popping.
Elden Ring does that.
But yeah, I think it's the best looking game on Switch, and there's no stupid big 14-year-olds with big tits in it. Do you know what I mean? They've just slimmed it all back, took it all back, and gone, what did people like? Like, even like on Final Fantasy, you have what do they call them? Moogles, their mascot.
Yeah.
In this, they have Nopons, and they were horrible, so annoying, such annoying creatures that never shut up, and they talked with a funny, annoying, like
cute
type thing. Yeah, they're cute, but in this, they've made them like, I'm a Nopon, motherfucker. They're cool. It's proper badass. But yeah, I think it's fucking sensational. It's probably the swan song for me for Switch, because I can't imagine something as big as this tickling my taste buds for this console now. I think we're done. It'll be like Switch 2 or whatever the next one will be for the next big thing. But
oh God, I'm gonna have to get this, aren't I?
Lovely. You're gonna love it, Gadget, because it's a sci-fi story rather than a fantasy story.
I do like a bit of sci-fantasy. Like I did quite like the story in the original Xenoblade Chronicles,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't finish it, and you obviously told me what the big twist is at the end of it, which is fine. But you know, I like it. It's one thing I do like with a lot of JRPGs where they are science fantasy. You know, there's a bit of technology in there, but there's always powered by magic or something like that. I quite like that stuff.
Yeah. I did forget to mention as well in this. Do you know why you have your special limit breaks and stuff like that?
Aye.
In this, you turn into mechs. So.
Right, okay, I'm going to order it now. Where can I get it from? For less than 50 quid.
You turn into Gundams, so... And it's not complicated. It's not hard to do. The everything about it. The UI is fantastic. It's fucking lovely. It's fucking lovely. Get it. Candy, what you been doing?
I've been watching a true crime drama on Apple TV called Blackbird this week. It's a 6-part series, 5 of which of the episodes are out. This final one's out this Friday. Normally, I wouldn't review something or talk about it until I'd seen the whole thing. But I think unless it seriously shits the bed on this last episode, the series so far has been absolutely spectacular. The last episode in particular. So it stars...
but imagine saying that while watching the last season of Game of Thrones.
I knew that was going to come up. But I mean, it's 6. I don't think it's going to happen because it got the same writers. We're fine, I reckon.
Seasons 2 to 7.
Wow.
Do you know what? I'm not actually sure if there's going to be, if this is just one season and it's going to continue after, or I think it's just a limited series, so I think it's just going to be the one. But anyway, it stars Taron Egerton playing James Keane, Ray Liotta in what I think is his final role.
I think he's got a film to come out. I think he's got one more film to come out as Ray Liotta.
Yeah, I don't know whether...
Reading about it.
Yeah, I don't know if that was filmed first and this possibly was filmed afterwards and sort of came out before. But it follows the true life events of Jimmy Keane, who's an ex-college football star, and he's the son of long serving police officer Big Jim Keane, played by Ray Liotta. And his house gets raided by... But this is all in the synopsis, I'm not spoiling anything. His house gets raided by the police. He's arrested for possession of a huge amount of cocaine, which he's dealing, and illegal firearms. And so
I bet it's small.
Nothing small, no. But on the advice of his father, who's kind of asked around his cop mates and legal advice friends, and the general feeling is that if he pleads guilty, he'll get a reduced sentence, a sentence of maybe 5 years, of which he'll probably serve 4. And unfortunately, this plea bargain doesn't actually deliver, and they're wanting to make an example of him. Basically, star footballer, policeman's son. He ends up facing a sentence of 10 years in prison with no parole whatsoever.
Ooh, bastards!
So a few months into his sentence, he's approached by an FBI agent who offers him a deal. And they want to move him...
watch The Grey Man?
This is real.
Plot to The Grey Man.
This actually happened.
The Grey Man happened.
Did it?
No.
Fortunately, it happened. Not in real life, just happened.
If it happened in real life, it'd be the biggest tragedy the world's ever seen. Everyone's dead.
The fucking film's a tragedy, mate. Go on, carry on.
Thank you. Back to me. So they offer him a deal, and they want to move him to this maximum security prison that's kind of inhabited with a lot of very disturbed inmates. A lot of them, actually mentally disturbed and everything.
Oh, wow.
With the intention for him to befriend and ultimately elicit a confession from a suspected serial killer, Larry Hall.
Is that Jesse Clements?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember his name. I've written it down.
I think I've seen the trailer of it, and he's a weird guy, isn't he?
Really weird looking, and he looks a lot like... Well, obviously, they've made him look exactly like how...
The big guy, yeah.
He's from
Jesse Clements. I've just Googled
Kai.
That's the guy. Yeah.
That is him.
He's the guy that falls over a lot.
It's a really old guy, and Cobra Kai wants to be part of the... Yeah.
Who says, I'm not a nonce. Him.
So to basically, to cut his sentence short, not only does he need to confess to this murder, but he needs to give them a location of the body as well. They haven't found the body. He's actually currently in prison. He's awaiting a retrial of his case. It's clear he has cognitive deficiencies, and the defense is going to sort of put to the judge that he was actually coerced into making this confession because the officer that interviewed him was quite kind of. They really did push him. He was quite harsh because he really thought that he did it.
What a fall guy as well.
Potentially, yeah, but the local
Cover
police,
the books.
Yeah, I mean, the local police just knew him as a kind of local character kind of thing, and that he had a history of confessing to things that he didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And yet all evidence is pointing to the fact that he actually did do this.
Wow.
But there's no guessing game to us as the audience. It's made very clear to us that he did in fact commit all these crimes.
Yeah.
But to the local police, he just came off as a sort of oddball, harmless, you know the type. And there's a lot of true crime dramas that have come out in the last several years, and I can understand a lot of people might be a bit sort of burnt out with them, and it's not really a genre that I usually seek out to watch either. But Taron Egerton and Ray Liotta, they piqued my interest enough to give it a go. And by the end of episode 1, I was just fully invested. This role is so far removed from Rocket Man. You couldn't imagine a more different role for Taron Egerton.
He's not playing Elton John in this.
Not this time, no. Surprisingly to all. Maybe it would be fun if he did.
Though.
Oh, it was incredible. I enjoyed that film so much more than I was expecting. But it just shows what a good actor it is, because in this he finds kind of the perfect balance of this kind of charismatic, ego-driven charmer, which is why the FBI agent comes to him in the first place. They want to win him round as a friend kind of thing. And also, he shows the vulnerability of someone who has to listen to all these heinous acts of a monster, yet he still has to keep his composure enough to lead him to believe that they're friends. And he has to keep listening to all these stories, and yet he's still not said what he's done to this final person or where it is.
Okay.
But Taron Egerton in this is fucking huge. Like, I don't know what James Keane looks like in real life, but obviously he was a football star, so he probably had some kind of real physical presence.
Probably.
But Taron Egerton's just massive. I couldn't believe, like, he's lost all his kind of boyishness from previous roles as well. He looks like a proper man now.
Does he now?
Proper man. But, oh, God, proper hot. But, that's not the reason I continued to watch it, I will say. I'm not that shallow. It's Paul Walter Hauser who plays Larry. He's got a good range too. He's kind of juxtaposing a vulnerable, lovable fool against. There's an actual sort of physical change in his performance while he's recalling these crimes and abuse he's committed. Like, his eyes become really focused and intense, and he kind of displays a kind of subtle sexual, without seeing anything specific. He does display like a sexual arousal, and then he'll just suddenly snap back to his previous composure, and it's as if he didn't say it at all. Even to himself, it's as if he didn't say anything. And finally, as well, there's this moving portrayal of a really sad, concerned, and ill father. Like, Ray Liotta plays a man who's recently had a stroke, potentially brought about by everything that's happening to his son. And he actually was poorly on set whilst they were filming this. I don't know if he knew that it was going to be his final role, but he's absolutely acting his heart out. He's playing a character unlike anything I've really seen him tackle before. And there's an emotional depth to it that really shone through, and it's a really worthy final performance, if that is his.
Ray Liotta was always good at emotion. It was always like fantastic at it. Yeah.
And like I said, that really shines through, and it's quite heartbreaking to watch as well, really, sort of knowing posthumously that it is kind of his final performance. But yeah, really recommend it. Like I said, unless the final episode shits the bed, and I'm hoping it won't, really, really good watch. And that's Apple TV as well. So Apple TV are just absolutely on fire at the moment. If you haven't got
quality
Apple TV,
over quantity, innit?
Yeah, and there's so many offers out there. I don't work for Apple, by the way, but there's so many offers out there at the moment. I think even if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, they were doing 6 months until recently. Yeah, you'll be able to find an offer somewhere.
I got a year with my PlayStation.
That was coming to an end, so be wary of that one.
Yeah, it might have already ended. You'll find an offer anyway. If you can find an offer, or even if you can't, it's £5 a month. So
or if you know someone that works in the Apple Store, they can get it for free. Trust me.
Speak to Mr. Apple. He'll sort you out.
Sponsor us, Apple. Candy's bigging you up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throw us some free codes,
right.
you bastards.
We'll go to Apple reviews.
Yeah, and review this podcast for a chance to. No, I'm not lying. You can't get free Apple TV for reviewing us, but we might give it to you if you review us 5 stars. Is that everything, Gandhi? Is that your?
That's just me today.
Fantastic. Stig, are you with us?
Yes.
Excellent.
A couple of things this week. First one is Jurassic World Dominion.
You loved it, didn't you?
Strap on in, folks.
Oh,
Strap
desperate first
on in.
I knew we were going to get this, so it's definitely going on the pod out. This.
No, I prefer my other one to
It
go on
is.
the pod out, to be honest.
They both are.
It's shit. It really is.
What?
It's just
Don't bury the lead.
It's just like Fallen Kingdom 2.0. It's stupid people doing stupid things. Again, it's a bunch of random set pieces combined with an awful plot that's just makes no sense. The nostalgia bit of bringing in back the original 3 doesn't hit at all. Like, at no point, you just like, oh yeah, they're back. You're kind of like, oh, okay. Whatever.
Did life ultimately find the way?
Technically, yeah, it does actually in this because dinosaurs roam the world
Predicted it,
and
didn't it?
they start to take over the world. Somehow they manage to travel across the sea. That's the bit that right at the beginning it's like, oh, they
We know
spread
what to do. They swim on the back of other dinosaurs.
They spread across the world. I'm like, how have all these landlocked animals spread across the world?
And on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
It just does my head in. Like, because Kate was like, oh, maybe like poachers and people have taken them and released them. I was like, well, but why don't we have
How many?
Why don't we have bears in this country then, or wolves? You know what I mean? Like, what they don't travel from the Americas and Canada and that, do they? Like, we don't have them here. Why would dinosaurs? So that was the first stupid thing that really annoyed me, and it just got more and more stupid. Chris Pratt constantly tries to control dinosaurs with his outstretched arms like it's some kind of superpower. He does it about 5 times in this to different dinosaurs, not just the raptors that he's trained, to huge like Allosaurus-style dinosaurs. He's doing this. I'm like, mate, that's not going to stop them. They're going to eat you. But
Yeah.
his reasoning for this is, there's going to be a mild spoiler here, is he says it's just a human-animal bond based on mutual respect. That's how he trained the That's how he trained the raptors.
So he's a dinosaur whisperer.
Yeah, basically.
It's fucked up.
That's so fucking stupid.
So
That can't
stupid.
possibly be true as well. Like, I have trained my cat, and there is absolutely no mutual respect from him.
Yeah, but
You
cats
have
are more
not
deadly
trained
than
your cat.
dinosaurs.
You have not trained that cat.
Your
I
cat
tried.
abuses you on the daily.
Look. Cats are more dangerous than dinosaurs. That is known. That is a
Do
known
you
thing.
remember how much I hated what they did to the raptors in the last film? How they made the raptor almost human, able to read and convey human emotion and understand
Open doors.
humans.
Mate, they're opening doors at first one. Come on.
But like,
You have mentioned
they
it.
were scary in the first one.
Yeah, they were. They're intimidating
Please,
predators.
Clever girls.
Please make raptors. If you're going to do more Jurassic World films, please make them scary again. Stop trying to make them relatable. Stop showing that they understand human speech. We don't need to see a mother-son hunting trip with raptors to try and make us like sympathise with the raptors.
I'd rather him just stop doing Jurassic Park
Stop.
films.
Please stop.
Personally.
And there's just at no point do you worry about the heroes in this film. Remember in the first film, like anyone could get killed. Samuel Jackson gets killed. The other guy gets killed. Like heroes die. Jurassic World even did that. The first one,
Muldoon.
babysitter die. Like anyone can die. That's the whole point. At no point, even in the big set piece with a huge new dinosaur, a bigger and better dinosaur, but apart this one's real, which is good. At least it's not a made up one. You just don't fear for the heroes at all. You know they're going to get out of this because they're too chicken shit to put them in real threat. And just, it's just shit. I just hate it. Honestly.
You liked it then, yeah?
And not only that, I think the puppetry and the CGI is pretty shonky as well. It says something when like a film from nearly 30 years ago looks better in places.
I did see it was about 2 months ago. I think they released like the first 7 minutes or so, like on Twitter for like people to watch. And I remember seeing the kind of the opening kind of crawl and like the camera going over the top of the landscape with the dinosaurs underneath, and it looked like something off a PS2. Like
Honestly,
it looked really shitty.
Did you see Spielberg's comment on it when it first came out? And they said, "What do you think to this?" And he was like, I'm sure they had a lovely time in production. That's all he said. He has fucking washed his hands with that.
He has washed his hands with that series.
I'm sure they enjoyed production on holiday.
It needs someone like him to bring it back to the fucking to make it.
Just call it Jurassic Park.
But I'm gonna
Requiem.
Yeah. Requiem.
But the biggest thing that like it literally made me laugh out loud and shout "fuck off" at my TV, because this is a spoiler, folks. In this film,
I don't think we need a warning.
I'm not putting the klaxon up.
Poachers take Blue's son, daughter, whatever, Blue's baby. The raptor that Chris Pratt has a.
It's got a name.
Yeah, it's
called Blue because it's got blue. It's got blue back, so it's blue.
You're my boy,
anyway,
Blue.
So he's like says to Blue. Blue's like going mental when he gets taken. He's like, "I promise you, I'll get him back. I'll get him back." And then Blue runs off. It's like, okay. But right at the end, he gives the dinosaur back. And he looks at Blue, and Blue looks at him, and he gives Blue a little nod, and then Blue looks back at him, and then runs off. Like there's some kind of connection there. Like,
wouldn't it have been good if Blue went up to him and gave him a little lick up his face?
We're almost at that point. Like I fully expected this raptor to bow and then run off.
I'm increasingly hating Chris Pratt as the years go on.
He's just so boring now. He's just turned into generic guy.
Yeah,
that particular setup. Were I in control of this runaway budget, massive monster movie kind of thing?
She should be.
I would have that moment where Chris Pratt's there. He gives Blue the nod, and then Blue eats him. I think that would be the funniest way to end the series. Just like then cut to black. Just really fuck over the audience for the last three films.
Chris Pratt he will not return.
I don't know why I watched this. I
don't know why you watched it.
A weird completionist in me that for some reason I have to watch the end of the series. I know, Kurt, before you message me and write in, doesn't mean that I'm going to watch Die Hard 5.
We're going to make you do that at some point.
Yeah, we are. It depends if we get patrons to subscribe.
Yeah, if we get over to £100 on Patreon, I will watch Die Hard 5 with commentary. There you go.
On his own, he'll just comment on his own, on the whole thing. On his own.
A lot of swearing.
It was just. I just can't.
Stop doing it to yourself. Have you got anything else to add?
Yes.
Good.
Brian and Charles fucking loved it. Wonderful film.
Yes.
So this is a film directed by Jim Archer. It stars David Earl, and it's about Brian, who is a bit of a loner. Well, he's not a bit. He's a loner who lives alone in a Welsh valley. He's a introverted oddball.
This is Ricky Gervais's mate, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in stuff like Derek and things like that. Yeah.
Afterlife.
Yeah. So he kind of passes his time after he's in a bit of depression, and he passes his time by making inventions, weird inventions that make no sense and don't work, but he just enjoys doing them. So you meet him at the start. It's in a kind of mockumentary style, so he's kind of talking to the camera, and he's just saying, "Oh, I do this. I collect rubbish. If he sees like someone's fly tipped, and he goes through all that trying to find stuff." So
has he still got that usual David Earl look?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah, with the glasses and the greasy hair and the beard. Yeah,
love him.
And he's like, you pick up a space hopper, and he's like, "Oh, I could do something with this," like that kind of thing. And you see him at the beginning. It's in the trailer. This, but he makes. I've made a flying cuckoo clock so I can fly above the village and everyone can see what time it is. And this thing's made out of half a bike, a trolley, a grandfather clock, a massive turbo fan on the back. And he's like, I'm just going to fly over there. And at the next scene you see he's just on fire and he's just running around. Yeah, good. And yeah, he's a really lovable, like kind of nice character, won't say boo to a goose at all. And one day, you can tell he's lonely. He just decides he's going to make a robot. So he makes Charles out of an old washing machine, a mannequin head, and all kinds of things. And lo and behold, Charles doesn't come to life because
why would it?
Until we have a bit of an electrical storm.
Ooh.
And all of a sudden,
Frankenstein.
Charles, it's very Frankenstein. Very Frankenstein. Charles comes to life, and Charles Petrescu. Actually, that's his full name. That's the name the robot wants to be called. My name is Charles Petrescu. Cool. He comes to life and he has his own personality and he's fucking amazing. He has this dog-like, like puppy-like wonder and excitement. So when Brian goes out to town and comes back, Charles is like, Brian is home, Brian is home, Brian is home. And if he had a tail, he'd be wagging it.
Oh,
but he's
cool.
also he's watching things about the real world, and he's like, I want to go there, I want to experience this, I want to do that. There's a wonder about him, about the world and outside the village. And obviously Brian doesn't want to give him up and doesn't want people to know he exists, because he thinks that if people are
they're going to steal him.
They'll steal him, because there is a family down the road, scrap merchants, who bully the whole village and steal and
Do you know what? It does seem like a plot to a Wallace and Gromit film.
Yeah, it could be, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's 90 minutes long.
Oh,
It doesn't really go anywhere. It's just a really wholesome, lovely film where David Earl's character Brian has this amazing relationship with this robot, teaching him and showing him things, and they dance and they cook, and Charles has a weird obsession with cabbages, and at times he turns into a stroppy teenager when he doesn't get his way, and it's lovely. I absolutely adored this film.
I think the rest of the internet did, because there was a little mini fake Twitter campaign to get David Hill to pick next James Bond. All saying he's sensationalist, going to pick next James Bond. I'm like, wow.
Honestly, you should watch this film if you can. It's just and it's perfectly suitable for children, to watch for children as well. So if you've got
so he's not telling about how many titwanks he's had like he does on Afterlife.
No, he's just a nice bloke.
He's
just kind of, life has not been kind to him. But yeah, it's really good. It's just really wholesome. I would watch it again in an instant. And 90 minutes long, can't go wrong. Honestly, it's
fucking love it. You love to see it.
There's shorts on YouTube that you could watch to try and get a feel of how it is. But if you just watch the trailer, you've
got it.
Yeah, there's a moment in the trailer that's in the film where he comes out dressed in these curtains. So why are you dressed like that? He's like, I think I look pretty cool. And it just made me howl, because like the way the guy who does the voice for Charles, the delivery is just perfect. It's so good. So yeah,
cool. I'm gonna check that out this week.
Yeah, definitely watch it. It's so good.
Good man. Biggie, round us off.
There's a couple of things I've been up to this week. I went and saw Elvis.
A rare Biggie week.
Yeah. And Elvis is amazing. I really enjoyed that, actually.
So
more than I thought I would. And is it Austin Butler? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who played Elvis is fantastic. Considering
he's going to get an Oscar nod. He's going to get a nod regardless.
He deserves it, because at first I couldn't see the Elvis straight away. I just didn't see him. I kept just picturing how Elvis normally is.
He looks nothing like him. That's the problem.
But at times he does. It's just incredible how he pulls that off. It's sensational. Really impressed.
I think for what I've seen of it, I've not seen the whole thing, but he's an over-the-top impersonation of Elvis with his movements. He's a bit too dramatic. But it's Baz Luhrmann. He's probably, come on, bit more. That's probably
if you watch the side-by-sides.
That's what I have watched, but Elvis doesn't swing as much as he was swinging.
Yeah, but you can't get it perfect. But if you watch that side-by-side of that,
it's so good, isn't it?
Comeback special, there's not a lot of difference in that.
And he sings, doesn't he? He actually sings.
Yes, it's sung. The early stuff with Elvis is sung, and then they just kind of mixed Elvis a little bit on top. I was listening to an interview with Baz Luhrmann, and he said that they actually stuck real Elvis in this film.
Yeah,
I never picked up on it once.
You could tell,
and no one seems to be picking up on it. But he snuck little clips of real Elvis in those performances.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. Really, he deserves an Oscar if he gets it, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But speaking of another pop star or stars, bizarrely ended up watching the Bros documentary after the screaming stops. Has anyone seen this?
It's one of my favourite documentaries ever. I fucking adore it. That guy, it's not Luke Goss, it's his brother, innit? What's his name? Matt. He has got the worst anecdotes of any man in existence. He's like, at any day, Rome wasn't built in a day, it was built in a week. He says shit like that.
Yeah, he just says, but we don't have the time that Rome did. It's just incredible because
He's so stupid.
it's filmed as a documentary, but it comes across like a mockumentary. That's just how weird it is.
It feels like Spinal
And
Tap,
it is-
doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. If you like Spinal Tap, you will love this.
But this
And
is
the
real.
thing because I was a fan of Bros when I was a youngster. I had their album and all that kind of stuff.
When will
And
Biggie
the film
be
focuses
famous?
literally on there's just the two of them. So the third member, Craig, he's not in this at all. He's not even mentioned,
He got
although he
kicked out,
appears in
didn't
all the footage. Well, yes and no. They split and went their ways, but apparently they asked him, the BBC, a co-part of this documentary, because it's following them, the two brothers preparing for a comeback tour, particularly a big gig at the O2.
Yeah.
And he just said, I'm not interested, but you got my blessing, sort of go ahead and do it, sort of thing, without him. And yeah, he's just not mentioned at all, apart from in the film footage. But yeah, the it's poignant at times. It's some really sad stuff that they talk about and cover, and it's really heartfelt when you watch it. But yeah, those anecdotes are just
They're
the stuff he comes
unquotable
up with
because
something.
he's stupid.
So I'll just read out a few of them. So this is
Oh,
a
here we
lot of
go.
this comes from Matt. So Luke is the more sort of troubled of the two twins. So in a nutshell, they basically, Bros were like one of the biggest bands. They were like Take That sort of height. Then they split up. They announced they were splitting.
Luke Goss became an
And-
actor, didn't he?
Yeah, Luke Goss became the actor, and then Matt went on to appear in Vegas, which is that link with Elvis, bizarrely. He did a lot of shows over in Vegas. But Matt is the one that generally drops these anecdotes, and
It's fucking
It's-
sensational.
here's a few of them. So he talks about what home means to him. He says the letters HOME are so important because they personify the word home. The rules in his home are: I have a rule in my house. You break it, you fix it. But you can break anything you want. He goes to talk about they have a little trip around their house, and you see a bit of footage.
His
from
house
those
is
kids and
massive,
stuff
innit?
like that. And then he goes on this weird rant about, please, can we start a petition as Bros for this ridiculous thing where you can't play conkers? You have to wear goggles. This is the biggest problem. You can't play conkers in England. And he turns around to his brother, and his brother just looks and goes, I can live with that.
Yeah. He genuinely wanted to do a GoFundMe on, not GoFundMe, whatever,
Change.org.
Change.org on conkers.
Matt's music and life inspiration. I made a conscious decision because of Stevie Wonder not to be superstitious.
Man's a genius.
Amazing.
It's just, there's so many of those little things just thrown in. It's just
That'll be
fantastic.
the outro song, that.
But
He
yeah,
said on because after when that documentary came out, he was on Good Morning Television or whatever, GMTV or whatever it's called, and he said something like, "Yeah, people have called me the Confucius of the pop world." I'm like, no, they haven't. No one's called you that. Not one person.
He's the proto Jaden
Idiot.
Smith.
Oh no, he's worse. But there's an innocence to him, isn't there, Biggie? He's just
No,
he's just
totally,
an old
totally.
man that doesn't accept that he's an old man. There's a sadness to both of them, and you kind of do love
it is
them, don't you?
because you assume that being twins, they're close and everything. Obviously, they were,
They're not.
but actually, they separated, and there's this build up to they have little the words come up on the screen like 20 days before the gig, 7 days
Yeah.
before the gig. And during all these snippets of footage, they're just
Scrapping.
trembling. They're fighting, arguing, and you feel so sorry for the bands that have been brought together to play all the background instruments. And they're just looking at each other like, "Oh my god, is this
What the fuck
actually
are
gonna
these?"
happen?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. It's just such a you can't help but watch it sort of
There's that,
documentary.
there's
and, yeah,
that,
it's just,
that thing he said. He said it on a different interview as well. He's like, the way people describe, but there's the Gallagher brothers, there's Simon and Garfunkel, then there's Bros. No one's put them together. No one's ever done it. It's so fuck. I love him. I love them both. I think they're
but yeah,
fantastic.
it's on Netflix. It is gripping in its own weird way, and it just has this
really good.
The Office kind of feel to it. It's so weird, but yeah,
That's
really,
it. He's like
really
David Brent, innit? He is a bit like
Yeah,
It's
really
freaking
recommend it. It's
fantastic.
a lot of fun. But yeah, just very quickly, the other thing I just wanted to cover is I've actually got a game review, a very quick one.
No way.
It's called Before We Leave.
Battlefield
I did get a code.
2042.
So if you're tired of all the blood, death, gore, and violence found in gaming today, well, fuck no, me neither, because I love that shit. But if you're tired of all the blood, death, gore, and violence found in gaming today, well, fuck no, me neither, because I love that shit. But full disclosure, I got a code for this, and to be honest, this game really isn't for me. But I did want to cover it anyway. So it's a city building game, and it's developed by Balancing Monkey Games, and it was released by Team 17. So basically, the idea is that you rediscover what was lost and nurture your reborn civilization set in a cozy corner of the universe. So they come out of their little vault in the ground. The world has been destroyed by a massive, apocalypse, and they've got to rebuild, basically. And you grow, gather, manage resources to help your settlements, and they're cutely called peeps.
Yep.
And they look like little wooden figures that are running around the map, and they do their usual thing where they build, soar, and all this kind of thing. You just basically, it's like a resource management game, but there's no enemy, you're not under threat. It's like this chilled, relaxing, can you get these guys to build their settlements, and then finally get to a point where you have like the skill tree that you have to fill up, where you learn new knowledge about how to build, how to repair, how to mine, and eventually you're going to build space rockets that take you to the next planet, and then you do the same thing again. It's basically along those lines. But yeah, you can relax and expand at your own pace. Not everything will go your way, so you've got to use your wits about researching the solutions. Your peeps have spent several generations underground. They've missed the caress of the sun on the skin and the squelch of soil between their toes. And once they start rebuilding their civilization, you've got to provide shelter, discover ancient technology, and expand the reborn society to other continents and planets. So the features in that game are building settlements, discover and research the ancient technologies, manage those resources, trade your settlements by seed and space, explore 6 unique biomes of islands of all shapes and sizes, and protect the peeps from the ancient beings that guard the galaxy. The UI is quite simple. The text is a little bit small at times, so for where I was sitting, it's a bit hard to sometimes read all the really small detail. Graphically, it's perfectly functional with really nice pastel colours. Animation shows exactly what you need to see on the screen. Your little peeps are whizzing around. You can speed the time up as well. So it's really just about taking your own time, but speed it up if you want to get things going. When they're chopping the wood, farming and building, you get this really interesting white noise in the background, and it almost sounds like they've recorded it in a cafe. So you have this little murmur of people chatting and doing stuff, and it's really kind of unusual for a game like this, but I quite liked it. I thought it was really effective. And then when they're obviously doing stuff like sawing, metal clanking, demolition stuff going on, those sounds come in as well. But it's just your usual resource management type of game. But sadly, it's not for me. But it's reviewing really well. It's got like 72% on Metacritic.
Now, disclaimer,
available PCs.
and
consoles. PCs and consoles.
Yeah, I also got a code for this as well, and I like it. I quite like it. It's just it came out at the wrong time because Xenoblade is here.
Well, it came out in May, and I actually played it back then, but it crashed on me after about an hour. So I left it. They've updated it.
I only got a code for it recently, so I wonder if they're doing another push to get it out there. But yeah, I like it. I think it's cute. It's not too difficult. It's not too complicated.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like I say, it's just not my type of game. I'm not quite sure why I got the code for it, to be honest. But
because there's no RPGs and sniper rifles in it. That's why you don't like it.
Exactly.
No Hellgast.
Exactly. But I think if you're into, it's almost got a non-threatening Frostpunk vibe to it. It hasn't got that grim.
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
Nasty side to it. It's just, look after these people and
there's
take them on their journey.
Death choices. Do you kill these orphans or these orphans?
Yeah, if you run out of resources, you're building halts. So it's as simple as that. Yeah, check it out.
I think it's cool. Excellent. Right then, so this main topic is going to be run by Gadget this month because he is the music man. He comes from down your way. So, Gadget, take it away.
So apparently, despite the fact that Oodles was a touring musician, apparently I'm the music man, so
I just wanted to get you involved.
I edit it, man. Anyway, so I'm going to lead this off. So this week we're talking about musical idols. Biggie, have you got the subject right this week?
I did have it last week, excuse me. It was just an interesting take on it, and I did cover a hot film.
The feedback on your take, mate, was insane. Yeah, it's J-Lo in it this week. It's got a bit.
Again. Nimrod agreed with me. Thank you.
Yeah, about the film.
I did.
Yeah, about the film.
It's Nimrod.
That's what I was talking about. The film. It just also contained J-Lo. That's really important.
Yeah. Nothing to do with that orange dress at all.
and
Anyway.
out of sight. Please
So-
answer.
Shut up. So yes, I'm going to start this one off because I want to talk about a guy whose music I actually don't currently like, but his music was a massive influence on me when I was learning to play the guitar. I want to talk about a fellow who was born Jeffrey Philip Wylant, but everyone will know him more commonly as Zakk Wylde. He is one of the... You would typify him as a guitar legend. Most people will probably know him from his work with Ozzy Osbourne in the late 80s through the 90s, and two of Ozzy's worst albums in the 2000s.
Yes.
Because Black Rain was really, really bad.
Wow.
Yeah. But I knew him best for Black Label Society, which is his band, his own band.
Yeah.
Who are the Black Sabbath. The man wears his influences on his sleeves.
Yep. Yeah, he's definitely Black Sabbath of America.
Yeah. So Zakk Wylde, he's been playing in bands since kind of like the mid 80s. He joined Ozzy Osbourne's band as a fresh face. I think he was only 18 when he joined Ozzy's band. It wasn't
that long after Randy Rhoads, was it?
It was 3 guitarists later, which in Aussie terms is about a week and a half.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't that long.
He joined for No Rest for the Wicked in 1988.
Oh, there you go then.
And Randy Rhoads died, I want to say 85?
85.
Something like that? Mid-80s. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So he joined for No Rest for the Wicked, which was a so-so album. But, got him big. Back then, he hadn't got the biker image that he had now. It was all the kind of the sequins and the 80s hair kind of thing that Ozzy was rocking at the time. I don't know how anyone thought he was the devil man, because he looked like a prat.
What, blonde Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, blonde Ozzy Osbourne in the 80s when it was the cocaine years. But
loved it.
The album that released, the second studio album that he did with Ozzy, is the one that kind of solidified Zakk Wylde as a guitar hero, because that was No More Tears. Which is, if you like guitar music, I don't particularly like Ozzy Osbourne, but No More Tears is a banger, wall to wall. And the title track...
solos, mate.
The title track has one of the greatest guitar solos of all time in it.
Sensational.
Absolutely brilliant. And that's what kind of catapulted Zakk Wylde to the front. You'll probably seen pictures, and the man looks like a Viking. He's got this kind of really long, straggly blonde hair, huge beard.
And he always plays the same guitar.
Always plays the same guitar, a Gibson Les Paul Custom with a bullseye design on it, and that's his little signature, the bullseye guitars.
You can't copy him.
No. They're also terrible to play, but he manages to pull it off. As a solo artist, he's released 2 of his own albums under Zakk Wylde, both called Book of Shadows. They're about 20 years apart. And then as Black Label Society, he's released 11 albums. And
11, really?
Yeah.
I know like 4 really well. That's it.
Yeah, start with 1999 Sonic Brew and all the way up to 2021's Doom Crew Incorporated.
That's mega. I didn't know he'd done that many.
Oh yeah, absolutely loads of them. And he had a kind of country style one, which was Pride and Glory, which is a really good album from 1994.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then he also has a Black Sabbath tribute band that isn't Black Label Society called Zakk Sabbath, which has released 2 albums because he's a dork. But yeah, I love his. He's got a very unique style of playing. A lot of kind of guitar heroes and lead guitarists, they strive that. There was a whole thing with the 80s and early 90s where you get people who were influenced by people like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and Kirk Hammett, where it was all this kind of really fluid, musically legato. So you didn't really hear the sound of the pick a lot. There wasn't a lot of
If you're not down picking, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, it was very fluid and flowing. Zakk Wylde hits the guitar like it owes him money. Like, he has such an angry, percussive style, but he plays with speed. Like I know how to play a lot of Zakk Wylde songs because, like I said, I learned how to play based on him. And it's exhausting to play his guitar solos because they are so inefficient as a musician. Like, if you were to give some of his solos to someone else, they would probably hardly use the pick because he's kind of moving around really quickly. But it doesn't sound right. You've got to have that attack. You've got to have that drive into it. And it sets him apart. He's one of those guitarists you can just, as soon as he plays a chord, you can hear, that's Zakk Wylde. Whether you know who he is or not. some recommended listening, I would say. The first 4 Black Label Society albums, so Sonic Brew, Stronger Than Death, 1919 Eternal, and The Blessed Hell Ride, they're essential. They're fucking incredible albums. Add to that No More Tears and Osmosis from the Aussie years. Do not listen to Down to Earth or Black Rain. Just do not. They are not good albums.
I like it. I like his riff on It Gets Me Through.
Well, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, but
like
that's
that
the only good bit of the album.
It's sludgy. It's sludgy, but it's not special.
The thing is, so Zach Wilde's brand was always very much about the drinking. He was a big drinker, and everything was. I mean, his live album with Black Label Society is called Alcohol Fueled Brutality.
You'll like it, Biggie. It's all Jack Daniels.
No, it was all pale ale. He's a beer man.
I thought he was a Jack Daniels guy.
Nah, he's not a whiskey. He wasn't a whiskey guy. But he basically drank so much he gave himself blood clots, and he had to go sober. And then after that, the music went to shit. It went really bad after that.
Nobody likes a quitter.
But he does weird things now. Like, you know, he does the old Black Label Society album in the traditional style of really kind of groovy heavy metal. And then he did a cover for it. So he did an album called "The Song Remains Not the Same," which is a really stupid title, but apparently he loves Led Zeppelin that much. And on that one, he did a cover of "Ain't Nobody," the old Chaka Khan song. And the music video for it is him in the kind of the biker rock look that he's got, playing an acoustic guitar on this kind of lovely, and he performs it well. Lovely love song. And the entire in the video, he's wearing one of those kind of rubber horse masks.
Yeah.
While doing this kind of reasonably earnest version of the song.
Sobriety is a cruel mistress.
But he just constantly does stupid shit. He also seems to approve some of the worst album art I've ever seen.
He's a kid though. He's a kid, isn't he? In his head.
I know, yeah, but like if you look at the cover for "Shot to Hell," it's terrible. It's
awful.
It's nuns playing pool, but just like really poorly photoshopped together. Or actually with the same theme, 2019, he did an EP in 2019 called "Nuns and Roaches, Tasty Little Bastards," which is a terrible title for an EP at the best of times. And the artwork for it is hideous. It's so bad. I don't know what's wrong with him. But he's also now a paid spokesperson for Death Wish Coffee. So he's replaced alcohol with extreme caffeine. So the man's going to die before he's 60.
Yeah, your blood can become coffee if you don't help it.
But yeah, if you go kind of back to his earlier days when he was doing the Aussie stuff and kind of the early Black Label side stuff, it's just impeccable musicianship, brilliant songwriting, amazing guitar solos, the riffs that stick in your head, brutal doom. Oh, it's so good. So
I actually prefer his live version of Crazy Train over Randy Rhoads' live version. And people say that's like the best one. And I think Zach Wilde's is better.
Zach Wilde plays it really well.
He does a lot of that, doesn't it? Pitched harmonics and stuff. It's fucking great, man.
Yeah, I think also as time went on, like his singing voice got higher and higher and more nasally, and you kind of lose like the early albums have got like a lot of grunt and real kind of push towards them.
Last thing I knew he did was that Lynyrd Skynyrd "We're Not Really Racist" tribute concert.
That was a bad
kind of racist.
That was a bad look for everyone involved. He still has his Confederate Les Paul as well, which is always a bad look.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, so I don't much like him as a person, but it's just he had such an influence on me as a musician. Like,
absolutely.
If I turn the gain up on my guitar, I will sound like him because I'll just play riffs in his style. But yeah, so go listen to some early Zach Wilde stuff. Anything up to about 2005. Like Mafia is about the latest I would go with him. Definitely listen to Book of Shadows because there's some incredible songs on that one. So, but yeah, let's go to Biggie because I bet it's hip hop.
Actually, no, it is. Of course it is.
J-Lo.
I know this will be difficult for you guys because it's obviously not going to be your thing, but hopefully a few of the listeners.
I like hip hop.
We like hip hop.
Yeah, but I mean that you may not know who I'm going to be talking about. So
if you know who I was talking
coming
about,
straight from the underground. I know hip hop. I'm not going to sing rest.
I'm going to talk about Peter O. Phillips, who is better known as Pete Rock. He's an American record producer.
Never heard of him.
There you go, DJ and rapper. He's basically widely recognised as one of the greatest hip hop producers of all time. often mentioned alongside DJ Premier, RZA, Q-Tip, and Jay Dilla as one of the mainstays of the 90s East Coast hip-hop production. He basically was more famous for being in a group, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. My ringtone is They Reminisce Over You, which is also TROY, which was a song that I spoke about before, which was done as a tribute to a friend of theirs that died. He fell off a building while they were performing a music video for Heavy D, who was one of his cousins. But Pete Rock has been around for a long time. When Pete Rock and CL Smooth, they basically did 2 albums and an EP, and then went their separate ways. And Pete Rock naturally just went into producing. He's worked alongside groups such as Stetisonic, Gangstar, Tribe Called Quest, and The Roots. He is well known for picking elements from jazz into his music. He creates a lot of his beats from samples, the majority of which are taken from obscure R&B, funk, and jazz records. He would sample drum breakbeats such as Blackheat's Zimbaku for Heavy D Boys' Letter to the Future. Pete Rock basically was famous for using the SP1200, and then went on to use the Akai, which is an S950, and they're all sort of beat making machines. He used to chop his way and cut through, and layered all of his songs using various different samples to create his own song. He used that technique way long before De La Soul did, for their 3 Feet High and Rising. It's distinctive because he's famous for having a lot of bass lines, horn samples, and gritty drums. His beats almost sound like they're played from an old vinyl record. And then part of his career, he what did he do? Sorry, lost my way for a second. His most famous album was Mecca and the Soul Brother, which he did with CL Smooth, and then they did The Main Ingredient. He's obviously been a massive influence on so many people. He does a lot of production for Mary J. Blige, Monica. He even did a song for Madonna called Secret, which was actually unreleased. He has some uncredited stuff, including Notorious B.I.G.'s Juicy. He's done the Tribe Called Quest's Jazz We Got, and he's most famous for doing a lot of remixes, such as Public Enemy Shut 'Em Down. Just got a fantastic going throughout the whole song. It's awesome. He also did Night Train for Public Enemy as well. He's still going today. He's released a lot of his own albums, which is just music without any lyrics. They're called Peachstrumentals. Have it as my alarm for one of the tracks. He's done at least 4 of those. He's just been around forever, still going strong today. Guardian just did a recent article on him, and there's a little issue around him on social media. He feels that although he's well recognized in the industry, he doesn't get a lot of recognition, particularly from his peers.
I know how he feels.
He's had quite a few spats with Kanye West, or whatever he's known as. Ye now.
Good.
Who fucking hasn't?
Fuck Kanye West. He asked to come on this podcast and we said no. Said not a chance.
I mean, everyone's had a pop at Kanye. I mean, Gandhi's had one.
Yeah.
The two of them aren't on speaking terms anymore.
Absolutely not. No, I'm still waiting for an apology.
Not after what he said and did.
No, exactly. Honestly.
Allegedly.
And he also had an interesting spat with a rapper called Can I Bus, who came out a long time ago in the 90s. Was like a one-hit wonder. And then he recently apparently produced the tracks for Can I Bus's recent album, got credited for doing it. And then he went on Twitter and said, "No, I fucking didn't. It's got nothing to do with me. Take my name off it." And then they produced receipts proving that he got paid for it.
What?
And it's just really weird. I love
hip hop beef. I love it. I love it.
He's using Twitter as basically like a thinking out loud and not. How
old is this gentleman?
Thinking.
How old is he? Should he be off Twitter? Yeah,
he's about 52 or something now.
Get him off.
Boomer territory.
Get him off.
So yeah, he just sometimes maybe he should think before he posts stuff. But for me,
look, when you're a verified person, you need to watch what you fucking say on Twitter, man.
I agree. And it's just a bit disappointing when you see these sort of public spats on the social media. But for me, just his music is just timeless.
Yeah,
and
beyond that.
To any of his albums, whether it's got with rappers, whether it's the instrumental stuff, it's just awesome. And long may he continue. But if you don't know him, please go and check out Pete Rock's stuff. It's awesome.
I'm checking out his Twitter
Biggie,
account.
You are proper fucking cool. Because I don't know none of that. You're a cool guy, and I'm jealous.
Well, I just love my 90s hip hop. He's one of them.
Man, and I think it's fucking. I've got mates that like are hip hop DJs and things like that, and use samples or whatever the hip hop terminology is, and fucking. They'd have conversations with you for hours, man. It's a world I'm just not. I don't know.
Use samples, whatever the hip hop terminology is.
Yeah,
sampling is in everything.
No, but they use them beats, don't they? Them machines.
You mean a drum machine?
Yeah, the SP1200 and stuff like that.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Like every band has used a drum machine at some point, even just to punch the beat in for a recording.
Yeah, we just use a drummer.
But anyone that's a fan of Pete Rock, and particularly Pete Rock and CL Smooth, after they split up, CL Smooth then appeared on a couple of Pete's Soul Survivor albums where he did stuff with Method Man and all sorts of people. So he just collaborated with a lot of people. So CL Smooth came back on, did a couple of tracks, and everyone kept thinking, they're going to get back together. And still to this day, everybody still wants them to get together. But apparently, according to The Guardian, it was an off topic. They weren't allowed to talk about it. Ooh. So I guess their relationship still hasn't healed, which is a real shame because as great as Pete Rock is and everything that he does, I still love when he was with CL Smooth. And I just think if those two could get back together again, they could release something special. But they're like pros. They have to have that connection. Be one and all. So, yeah, who knows? We'll have to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Amazing guy.
Candy. You got a rich tapestry of music in your life.
I truly do.
You're wearing black.
I don't know what you're on about. Actually, Oodles alluded to it earlier, and mine is Slipknot and Corey Taylor, the singer in particular. Normally, I write quite a few notes for my main subject, but Slipknot's a band that has been so dear to me for such a long time. When it came to kind of putting pen to paper, it was difficult to properly convey how much they sort of mean to me. So apologies if my thoughts are a little bit disjointed, but trying to sort of find the right words. But they've been consistently one of my favourite bands from the age of about 14, I think. And they haven't got that many albums out. I think it's possibly about 6 now.
It's 6.
I think they kind of employ a less is more. And I think it takes a lot of energy out of them as well when they're actually recording, and they go on these huge touring cycles. But they
do like year-long tours, don't they? The crazy people.
Yeah, and their shows, even now, are so chaotic and they're so violent and there's so much like raw energy. And
men in the late 40s.
Exactly, these lads are in their 40s and early 50s. But I think there's a tendency among music fans and among metal fans in particular to kind of look down on them a bit as if they were kind of like a gimmicky band, because if you don't know, they wear masks, or they certainly did when they still do.
Do they?
They've taken their masks off now.
Just gatekeeping because they got popular amongst people who aren't metalheads as well. That's all it is.
They also got popular in kind of 1999 when new metal was kicking off, and everyone like that first.
They lumped it in, didn't they?
Yeah, the first album, the self-titled one, is a legitimately brilliant piece of composition and music. But everyone's saying, "Oh, these guys are just like Limp Bizkit with masks," and it's just like,
imagine.
No, you don't put Rollin' next to Spit It Out and say they're the same kind of music.
Or Wait and Bleed and fucking take a look around.
But I mean,
I love that track.
Even the
of course you do.
Even I don't know if you want to call it the first album or the second album, because their first album isn't always counted. It's counted more of a sort of demo, make, kill, feed, repeat.
I still love that one as the jazz metal odyssey that it is. It's fucking wild.
It's a strange one, but it's
raw as fuck, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's undercooked.
Because they funded it themselves. It cost them something like 40 grand, and they funded it themselves, and it didn't work. And at that point, I don't think they were even wearing masks potentially. And then they almost called it a day after that album. And I think they were just spitballing ideas. It was Corey actually that came up with the idea of coming out with masks and giving themselves. They wear overalls with barcodes, and they all have a name. There's 9 of them, by the way. There's 9, so it's numbers 0 to 8. But yeah, I mean, it was easy to kind of cast them off, like you said, just as a gimmicky band. And in some ways, I think the masks did help, but in some ways, they did hinder them as well. Like I think they would have been taken more seriously as musicians, were they not wearing masks, but at the same time, would they have got, all kind of eyes on them? They did. And they did come out at the right time as well, like you said, on Roadrunner when all these bands were coming out and they got lumped in, but also it was a springboard for them. But yeah, their performances and throughout the career, it has been, they've obviously suffered quite badly mentally, I think. And I don't know if that's a result of the music or if the music is a result of this, but they have a tendency to kind of create, the way I would put it is that they kind of create beauty out of pain. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say. Again, it's not something you would necessarily associate with Slipknot, but if you listen to songs like Snuff, it's a really melodic, really dark song. And there's several of these throughout their career. And there's usually at least one kind of, I don't want to call it a ballad because it's not, but it's more of an acoustic driven song rather than these like blast beats and everything.
Vermilion Part 2, is it? That's the really...
Yeah,
like Vermilion
like
and Gently kind of and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a really wonderful acoustic version of Snuff that's just like Corey Taylor by himself with an acoustic guitar.
It's stunning.
It's incredible.
And it's no surprise. He has, I think it's like, there's an actual, like, I want to say he's in the Guinness Book of Records for having the biggest range in metal. I think there's a fact like that.
Yeah, he did it on one of them scales.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he did. He's not been beaten yet.
Yeah,
But-
if you listen to his Stone Sour stuff, he sings a lot more than he does on that,
like Bother.
and shows his range a lot more. Like in terms,
Yeah, he's
of what
got a
he can
great
do.
range on him.
Yeah.
Stone Sour's a lot more melodic. I would say Stone Sour's probably more of a heavy rock band, whereas Slipknot
It's more radio friendly. They want a bit of
and
money.
then Slipknot's proper metal. And then I don't know his like creative process, whether he writes a song for a band specifically or he just writes a song and it'll be like, what, that's for Stone Sour, or that's definitely a Slipknot song.
I reckon
And
that's
there
what
are
it does.
Yeah, and there are a couple of crossovers as well. I think there's been some songs that have been demoed by Slipknot and it's been released as a Stone Sour band. But it's no wonder because, again, if you listen to some of the lyrics, it's no wonder that not all of the band members did make it. 2 of them already now have gone. And again, they've taken that and they've put it into their albums. And one of their albums is called, I think it's the Grey Chapter, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was purely for Paul Gray, who was sadly the first member who left us. But going back to I've seen Slipknot at every point in their career. Like I think I was probably 14 or 15 when I first went to see them. And this was when they were still a raw band. They were supporting bands like Slayer. They weren't on main stages. They were on side stages. And it did feel like, they genuinely did feel like a dangerous band to watch. And you just knew that they were just going to explode. Like these.
They had the most aggressive
bands.
mosh pits I've ever been in my life.
Oh, without a doubt. I would agree with that. Yeah.
It's awesome.
That,
First wall of
curiously,
death I was
Motley
ever in
Crue
was
for me.
Slipknot.
Oh, they do this wonderful...
I'm not built for walls of death, guys.
No, I don't anymore, but I do...
No one's built for walls of death. That's the point.
I
was
remember
right there.
I was about 16 and I was going to see Slipknot, and it was in the Birmingham NEC. It was the Disaster Pieces tour. And I remember I'd got a boiler suit for the occasion, and I was wearing skate shoes at the time because that's all we would wear. And I remember duct taping my shoes to my feet just in case they got knocked off. Because that's all you'd fucking see is odd shoes and random feet that had come off and people throwing shoes
And back
everything.
then, unfortunately, they used to pick women up and throw them about.
Yeah, and that happened on more than one occasion. Luckily, I was lucky on that one because I was for the majority of it I was sitting down. But on this particular show, the seats were lined with a type of material. One person had ripped the material off that seat and thrown it into the mosh pit. Of course, the entire floor then, it was just like a sea of flying carpet, like flying seat covers. It was incredible. But yeah, going back to it, seen them every point of their career. I've seen every album tour they've done. I've been in the mosh pit. I've been at the sides. One of the last shows that I've seen of them, I took my friend's 10-year-old lad, and I was still on the parent wall in the end because I took him down to the front, and it's what was it? I can't remember what tour it was. It wasn't the most recent. It was the one before, but they were using a lot of pyrotechnics and everything. And to a 10-year-old boy, there's a lot going on to watch. So he had a bit of a moment. I took him to the parent wall. I was like, this is what my life has become now. But there's something for everyone, you know. If you're at the back, you can see it. You can see what's going on. It's perfect. But I've seen them grow as a band, and I've seen them overcome member losses, and the way that they've released consistently good albums. Like there's been slightly weaker albums, there's been slightly stronger albums, but all of them are consistently good. And that's one of the few bands that I think I can say for such a long amount of time that they just haven't really gone off for me. But Corey himself, the singer, is the most down-to-earth, humble, and really highly intelligent person. If you ever see him being interviewed, you'll know this. In several situations, he will talk. He's able to command a crowd of thousands and thousands, but he's also able to talk to people on a one-to-one level and be engaged and keep their interest and talk eloquently. He's the author of, I think, probably it's 4 books now. He's done an autobiography. He's done, I think, several autobiographies. He's done a book about the paranormal and a couple of other ones. They're on Audible, actually. He reads them himself.
Done a Christmas song?
Probably. That'd be good.
No, wait, he has done a Christmas song.
He has.
Do they know it's Corey?
No.
Trust me. If you've not heard it.
It's just called Xmas, and it's just a stupid punk song.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm sure I would have heard it. But in his own life, you know, he's been through abuse himself as a child at the hands of a neighbour. Unfortunately, he's battled several mental health issues and addictions, a couple of suicide attempts as well, unfortunately. But I think that's kind of a bit of a curse when you're that intelligent. You do find it hard, I think, to connect to people. I think maybe that is part of the problem sometimes. I know I suffer with that, being so intelligent.
With the world. That's what's a lot of very intelligent people that get alienated and like they get frustrated that people don't understand what they're thinking and what they're wanting and stuff. And you see it all the time, especially really, really talented minds as well. It's one of those curses that come with talent.
Exactly. And of course it's exacerbated by being on tour and being surrounded by drugs and everything.
Yeah.
But completely sober now. I think he's been sober for quite a while. He's had periods of being sober on and off in his career.
It's so trendy being sober nowadays, isn't it?
Isn't it?
So trendy.
It's a bunch of saddos. But he's just funny as fuck as well. Like if you see him being interviewed, he will just crack a joke and he'll tell. He's a real good storyteller. He'll crack all these anecdotes and he'll take you on a journey. I remember, and this is going to be a bit of a name-dropping moment, but I got the opportunity to be backstage at Download, and I think it was 2005. It was me and a good friend of mine, and we had no business being backstage. We got there purely by chance, and we got talking to him. He approached us, didn't know us, just started chatting, and throughout the weekend, he would, he'd come up to us and have a chat and say good morning, and it was as if he'd known us for 10 years. He was that humble, that down to earth. And it was, he was actually listening to us. He was paying attention. He actually cared what we had to say. And he had no reason to. We were a couple of 20-year-old girls that, looked like groupies. But at no point ever did he talk down to us or act as if we were on a separate level. He was a really nice guy. Again, huge geek as well, which we like on the show. He did a couple of the voices for Doctor Who. Yeah, he did some of the aliens. And as I said earlier, he's got the greatest singing range in metal. And I just really love Slipknot. I love him. I know it's easy to take the piss, but I think a lot of that hate is not, it's not been earned.
I was
still do the
lucky
mask
enough to meet. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to disguise their identities completely. After a couple of albums, especially when Stone Sour came out, Corey took his mask off, and then throughout the years, they've all kind of eventually just taken their masks off. But
yeah, I was lucky enough to meet Sean, Clown, a gig, a tour, and he was nice as well. Massive, but nice.
Massive, but nice, and also quite scary.
It was a sweet. I didn't know it was him at first. Someone told me it was him.
I think
I
he was
didn't
one
know
of the
it was him.
last people to. He was one of the last
Yeah.
ones to take his mask off.
Someone
and
said,
he's
"Do you know
not-
him there? Sat down. That's clown." I went, "Fuck off."
Some of them
What?
actually look like their masks as well. Joey looked a lot like his mask, and Mick as well. The big guy with the sort of.
Joey
metal
wasn't
mask.
big.
No, he was not at all. And then Mick looks exactly like his mask.
Right, well, did you take
When
Mick's mask off and you've just got beard?
Another mask.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Mask
When you just said
inception.
about clown being scary, it reminds me of a video my friend put up when he saw Slipknot live, and obviously for Spit It Out, when everyone gets down on the ground,
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah.
he came into the crowd, and he's wandering around, and he's just
With his
kind of
baseball bat.
and he's wandering around with his bat, and people who because there's always some that don't get down.
Yeah.
He's wandering around. He's there going, "Get the fuck down! You get the fuck
Yeah.
down now!" And then when Corey shouts, "Get the fuck up!" Clown just fucking pelts it through the crowd. Security guards like trying to keep up with him behind him.
Yeah.
He just pelts it through the crowd back to the stage. It's so good. But
That's what I was going to mention, actually, the whole jump the fuck up thing, because they still do that even now. And it's funny, like when I first started to go see them, jumping the fuck up was not a problem. Now, when most of the fans, late 30s, early 40s,
Hold
jumping the fuck up, not quite so easy. It's
Oh, man,
it's a much
he's-
slower get the fuck up.
and if he takes longer as well, like because rather than just doing the lyrics that lead up to it, he'll start talking, won't he? So it takes
Yeah,
about 3.
anecdote.
So he tells
You don't
everyone to
know.
get down, and you're there bouncing on your legs, going, "Man, my knees, man. Could we hurry this
Yeah,
up?"
they're
Because-
hurting,
Yeah.
The same with
when
House
they
of
jump
Pain.
the
To
fuck
jump
up,
up,
everyone's
yeah.
like hanging on to each other, like, oh,
Yeah.
hang on, right, off we go then.
Everyone jumps up. You hear the world's loudest crack.
I tell you what, though, I'm not surprised he's got such a good range because his neck is fucking massive.
Oh, he's got the neck of a tree.
So, yeah,
Jesus
that's what I
Christ.
It's
mean.
Yeah.
mostly neck, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's neck incarnate.
Yeah, it's a good pick, that Candy. I love Slipknot, and they're one of the best bands I've ever seen live.
Same.
And I hope to see them again someday. But we'll move on now to Stig.
Okay, so mine.
Avril Lavigne.
Fuck off. It's Avril Lavigne. No, I've gone for the nicest guy in rock and roll. It's an easy pick. Some might say cliche pick, but I've gone Dave Grohl.
The
Well,
best teeth in show business.
Yeah,
I love him.
Dave Grohl is incredible. If you don't know who Dave Grohl is, you must have been living under a rock for the last 20 years.
I think he's the drummer from Nirvana, isn't he?
He's the drummer from Scream.
Yes.
So no, yeah, Dave Grohl is the frontman of the Foo Fighters. Started his career in a band called Scream before moving on to Nirvana. And I just kind of have so much respect for the man after what happened with Kurt Cobain and Nirvana
Oh,
to
God, imagine.
pick himself up from that, and within a year, kind of just focus on his work and record a full album by himself. He recorded the first full Foo Fighters album. We mentioned this before, but he played all the instruments, sang it all himself, bar
Mixed it,
one
didn't
song where someone did the guitar in. But yeah, he just produced it all and did it all himself. And from there, he's just gone up and up and up and up in the world. And he's taken that tragedy and kind of run with it and become one of the biggest and most successful rock bands of all time. And on the way has produced absolutely incredible songs and moments and tours. And I just think that the guy he's such a good front man. And to go from a drumming role and then to put yourself front and center to changing the instrument you're playing, to be the vocals, to push yourself away from the type of music that Nirvana were, to not be it's not a bad thing to be associated with Nirvana, but to not just be, that's the ex-Nirvana drummer.
He also saw the grunge scene dying.
He wasn't copying Nirvana. He didn't jump out Nirvana and do a Nirvana style album.
I think even to this day, the Foo Fighters have never covered a Nirvana song, and that was one thing when he created Foo Fighters. Is like, I'm never going to do a Nirvana song live, never ever. This is a completely different band, and I think that stayed.
Yeah. It's as much as people are like going to say, I'd love for him to do that. I'd love for him to do that. It's Foo Fighters is its own thing. It's a completely separate thing that he just took and rolled with and made bigger and added members to the band. And I love Foo Fighters, They're one of my favorite bands of all time. I've seen them 5 times. Every single time,
Wow.
he is just a ball of energy, and just holds the like you said with Corey Taylor, just holds the crowd in the palm of his hand, and everyone is focused on him and listening to him when he has something to say. He's just. I think that people kind of rip on him a bit now, because it seems to be one of those things where, oh, he's a nice guy, and people kind of like, it's nice guy Dave Grohl, you know what I mean? Like, and I just think, what's wrong with being nice? What's
He's
wrong
such a
with
professional, though, isn't
what's
he?
wrong with him doing nice things for people? Even if he's done. I've found a load of few cool things he's done here. Like, he did a fan garage jam where Wasted Light was recorded in his garage, so to kind of show fans appreciation, they go and play in fans' garages. That's really cool. Like, that's interacting with your fans and not seeing yourself above anyone just because you're the millionaire, because you're the rock star. He's quite happy to just go off and play with fans in their garage. The amount of videos I've seen of him pulling people out of the crowd to play along with them and putting the focus on them and bigging them up, it's brilliant. He's, if you saw during the pandemic, he did this kind of drum off with this little girl called Nandi Bushell.
That was great.
So good.
She became
So good.
famous by playing Foo Fighters song, and obviously it got the attention of Dave Grohl. And they had this little like drum off and battle back and forth.
She was
doesn't have-
sensational, though.
Oh yeah, she was, and eventually he conceded defeat. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
do that. He doesn't have to,
No.
like, as much as people probably tagging him and sending it to the Foo Fighters accounts and trying to get hold of him, say, "Look, I've seen this video, I've seen this video." He could. There's a lot of people in rock and roll who would have just gone, "That's nice," and moved on. But he made it his personal mission to kind of interact with this girl and make a thing about it and just be a nice guy. Like, he's just really cool and down to earth. And I remember once when a old company I used to work for, and this is going back to like 2006, and they used to do interviews with the people that worked there. And one of the questions was, "Oh, if you could invite anyone to dinner, who would it be?" And he was my instant answer, because I just think like how, and that was before he was like even, he's got a lot bigger since then, and he's been a lot in the media and the limelight a lot more since then. But I was loving Foo Fighters back then and knew how fucking awesome he was, and I think he'd be class to have as a dinner guest.
He'd probably do your washing up for you.
He probably would, yeah.
He'd pay for it, definitely.
Yeah.
What's that thing that happened with him? Didn't he fall off a stage and break his leg or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
he came
then
back,
carried on.
and played.
Yeah,
In a wheelchair.
they created a throne out of guitars for him to sit on.
That was it. He did the rest of the tour in a wheelchair, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he did the rest, isn't he? So many people just gone, right, that's it, unfortunately,
I'm
tour's
done.
over. And he wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd dream of ever upsetting the fans like that. Obviously, the recent tour has been cancelled for good reason. No one would ever begrudge them that, because that's an absolute tragedy. And again, he's been through...
The tragedy follows him, doesn't it?
He's lost his best friend, another one.
Yeah.
Where he goes from here, we
exactly.
don't know. There is going to be some tribute concerts for Taylor Hawkins, but where Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters go from here, I don't know. But even if the Foo Fighters end, I don't think he will. I think he'll pick himself up, he'll throw himself in his work, and you'll see some new stuff.
Yeah.
Even maybe different stuff from the Foo Fighters, like he did last time.
Yeah.
I think we'll see some more somber music from him.
I think,
So-
I think it's very likely that's what he'll do. He won't. I think because Taylor Hawkins was such a kind of critical part of the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Like early Foo Fighters sounds like Dave Grohl drumming. By the time Taylor comes into it for the color and the shape, the band sounds different. Because Taylor is pushing so much of it. So there is a big part of me that thinks even if he ends up working with like Chris Shiflett and Pat Smear and Nate Mendel again, it would be a different band. It would have to be, because it'll never sound the same. And I don't think Dave Grohl would. There is a part of me that thinks Dave Grohl wouldn't want to continue without Taylor, the same way he didn't want to continue Nirvana without Kurt.
Yeah.
I can see him being like a sort of a guest on a lot of tours. Like he'll guest with a lot of the big bands, I think.
Might go back to Queens of the Stone Age for a little bit, because like
makes sense.
Songs for the Deaf is a fucking blinder of an album, and his drumming on that is incredible. That drum solo in Song for the Dead
lot of stuff as well. He produces a lot, like he did Eagles of Death Metal and stuff like that, didn't he? And Tenacious D, for one. He did a lot of helping with that.
He drummed on every Tenacious D album.
Yeah, and sung on a lot of them. Legend.
Yeah,
Legend.
I think he's just brilliant. I love listening to him talk in interviews. Oh, shit, sorry, back to my mic there. I love listening to him talk in interviews. I love hearing the stories he comes out with. He always seems so happy and willing to give people the time in interviews and things like that. I do want to listen to his autobiography. I haven't got it or read it yet, but he does narrate that, so I'm kind of interested to listen to that. Be quite sad listening to it, to be honest, because obviously it was written and narrated before Taylor's death, so I think those chapters might be quite hard hitting listening to that, because he has described him as his like best friend and his soulmate, basically. Yeah.
He's also kept a sweatband industry in business for a long time.
I love hearing
sweatband.
I love hearing Dave Grohl talk about his process for writing songs, because as annoyingly talented as the man is, he knows nothing of music. He doesn't know any music theory or anything like that. There's a great interview where he's got his acoustic guitar and and he's talking about how he composed Everlong. And he goes, so I start playing this. He starts playing the main riff. He says, then I had to go to this chord, and he plays it. And someone says, what chord are you playing there? He's, no idea. I'm a drummer. I don't know what chords are. And he just keeps playing it. It's so funny.
Can't read music or anything, can he?
No, never has been able to. He can't even read drum music. He just plays.
Mental.
Bastard. What a bastard.
Too
talented. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But he's produced and written two of my favorite songs of all time, which is My Hero and Everlong.
Yeah,
I absolutely adore those songs. I just think to take himself from a tragedy with Nirvana and kind of just roll with it, he's just brilliant. Because he could have dropped off into obscurity.
Because he weren't exactly the front man of Nirvana. Obviously, all eyes were on Kurt Cobain, weren't there?
Yeah, well, the drummers never really are until you kind of get big. Like
look at he was just there with his long hair. You couldn't even fucking see half that stuff.
You guys might know Nirvana fans on that. I don't know the name of the other guy.
The bassist,
Chris Novoselic.
That's it. So I'd have to be told it or look it up. I can't. I don't know.
He dropped off face of the earth.
Don't know where he's. Don't know what he's done, and whether he thought he wanted to get out of the business after what happened with Kurt. Fine, but Dave Grohl didn't want to do that, and just look at the success and the music and everything that he's done since there. So I will always love and respect his music.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's an excellent choice. He's an excellent musician. He's written some of the best rock songs, or best songs of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So
also, like seeing him on tour, like when the first one, the All My Life, it's just like, and the crowd are like, it's building, building, and then it hits, and everyone just goes nuts. It was
his breath control on is it Monkey Wrench?
Where he does that big thing.
Fuck me! I've heard him do that live in front of me. His breath control, I'm like, fuck that. That is solid.
It's also incredible that he can do a song like One by One, All My Life, and make it interesting playing a single chord throughout the whole song. Because outside of the chorus, he's just playing a G chord. That's it. All the other guitar work in it is done by Chris Shiflett, and it's incredible. He's just out there going dun 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 all the way through the whole song. It's fucking amazing. Right, we've gone on long enough. Rounded out Oodles, because I think I know who you've picked.
Yeah, I've gone with a man that changed my musical odyssey for the better, in my opinion. So I was obsessed with all things metal and deathcore and stuff. I was a snob of the highest snobiety. I was, if it's not metal, if it's not dark, if it's not aggressive, I'm not interested. Two artists then changed my opinion on this. First one was Prince, which was a massive inspiration to me. But I think this gentleman took the biscuit for changing my life. David Robert Jones, better known as David Bowie. If you don't know who Bowie is, if you've been living on Mars for the last 50 years, which he'd like that, he was an English singer-songwriter and actor, leading figure in the music industry. He is regarded as one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. Bowie was acclaimed by critics and musicians, particularly for his innovative work during the 1970s. His career was marked with reinvention and visual presentation, and his music and stagecraft had a significant impact on popular music, which that's the big thing for me, is innovation with it. He wasn't liked at first. People didn't get David Bowie. They didn't understand why he wanted to write songs about sad things in the 70s. His first few albums and stuff, first few singles were sad, a bit of a man alienated from the world, and he was given some advice early in his life. If don't be David Jones, be someone else, and that's exactly what he fucking did. He created personas, which you all know his famous personas, including Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, Halloween Jack, the Thin White Duke, and his last character that he ever did was the Blind Prophet. Just changed what, I mean, musically, to be absolutely fair, Bowie didn't change the, he didn't set the world alight musically. I think a lot of his songs and his albums and stuff are quite adequate sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't all about the music for us. It was everything surrounding it. He went back to the stage presence, and like you get like Freddie Mercury, which is bombast, isn't it? And just hyper, like getting the crowd involved. Bowie was more, you've come to this show today, guess who I am? I'm Aladdin Sane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, you're watching that, it's the theatrics of it. And I don't know what it was about myself in my late teens. I was trying to find myself as well a little bit. I didn't know what I wanted to be anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I did traveling and stuff to try and soul search and stuff like that. I had, obviously, as you know, drug abuse and stuff like that was haunting me, trying to get, and I kind of like switched myself around and pretended I was someone else to see the rest of the world and stuff. I didn't use my real name when I was traveling and stuff like that. And I was inspired by Bowie to do that. It helped me get past these social barriers and stuff like that back then no one talked about. You couldn't mention the word anxiety back then. You couldn't do it. It wasn't a thing, especially a man. And it helped me. It helped me like build myself around that and be who I wanted to be. And then it also helped me not have to have this persona and just be myself. And when I became a dad and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, just be yourself. You know what I mean? I know we all use as fake names on this podcast, but that's to protect us from our ravenous fans knocking on his doors and stuff like that. But sometimes you can be yourself, can't you? And when Bowie was himself, if you've watched interviews of him, it was such a lovely bloke. Such a lovely bloke. Yeah. A dad. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people don't realise you were a dad and stuff. And he was so like, it was so forward thinking, like talking about sexuality when you couldn't talk about sexuality, talking about representation when you couldn't talk about that, wearing women's clothes when it wasn't a thing to do, and he wasn't bothered. And people used to say, "Oh, are you gay?" He's like, "Why would you label me as gay? Why would you assume?" Do you know what I mean? Assumptions and stuff like that. He wasn't a gay man, and I don't know. There's just something about his image and his way with words and poet, because a lot of his songs are poems and prose, and there's something beyond what the actual music is, because he wasn't stupid. He did Let's Dance because that kind of music was popular then. He's not fucking stupid. He's got a mortgage. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he just did something to me. And I know Gadget's a big fan of Black Star.
Oh, I love that album. It's a fucking incredible album.
It's probably the best eulogy that anyone's ever put on record ever. This was a man that secretly was dying, and he thought, you know what, best way to do this, the ultimate curtain call, is to record my death in musical form. And he did it. And when so in 2016 he died. So, and I was woken by my wife, like she knew how much he meant to me with this terrible news. And it was liver cancer. I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know he had that. It kept very closely guarded from the public, and him and Prince, when they were the two first like celebrities that affected me, because you say, oh, they've retired, and you think, oh, that's sad. Doesn't ruin your day sometimes, does it? It's horrible, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
This ruined my week. This changed how I thought about things. And when you listen to Black Star, like, it's a super macabre and depressing album, but it's very, very, very important. I've never known music like that can, you know exactly what he's going through, even to the last track.
It came out before he died, didn't it?
I think he passed literally the day after it came out.
No, it was
very close.
The album came out the week before he died. Basically, he got to the point where he saw he got to number 1, and then he popped his clogs.
Yeah.
Like,
Just imagine listening to that and just being like, "Oh, this is the Bowie's written this album about a man dying, and it's profound and experimental, and it's really cool." And then a week later, he dies, and you think, "Fuck,
shit! It's about him.
It's about himself."
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
And that were his last persona, the Blind Prophet, which he never got to show on stage. But I imagine he would have done very intimate gigs about it and stuff like that.
No, he hadn't performed live for like 12 years to that point. Anyway.
Yeah, he'd not had it.
He had a heart attack on stage and just never went on stage again.
He was just. I know there's something about that album that sticks with me even now. It's probably the newest album we're talking about here, to be honest. But yeah, and then every like his top albums for me are The Man Who Sold the World, fucking perfect for the time, not stupid at all. People hated it. People didn't like it then, but I think it were really clever. It was against disco, which was huge then, and he was fed up with it. And then Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, legendary album. Fucking, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Diamond Dogs, banger, and again Black Star. They're the albums. They're always on, and it's weird that I can happily get up on a morning and commute to work listening to Black Star. You wouldn't imagine it, would you? But it's still poignant. It still works with your day-to-day life. The legacy that he left, man, just mind-blowing. I know some people can't stand him, but he's not just the Goblin King. Do you know what I mean? Even in Labyrinth and stuff, he put his all into it, didn't he?
Yep.
His cameo in Extras as well is really funny in that.
Oh yeah, chubby little fat man. Yeah, fucking fantastic. And just everything, every time, even up until his late life, like when he popped up in Zoolander. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Bowie's here. Let's fucking go. Let's go. There was something about him. His keen eye for fashion and stuff. It's just, again, it's not all just about the music. He was just an idol.
Yeah.
Because again, he's not the most competent musician. He's not got the best voice. He's got a very unique voice, but he hasn't got very much range. And it's just how he did what he did was just sensational with what he had. You know what I mean? And he had a troubled past and stuff with his family and mental health and stuff like that. But yeah, just what an idol. And it'll always be number one to me. Number one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Bowie.
Okay, so we'll go straight into the mailbag then, because we've been going on long enough about the people that we love. We're going to hear what the audience loves, and got quite a lot of them this week, actually.
Music's good.
Yeah, Leroy Francisco started off saying, I'm going to say 2 artists who have really helped me find myself. David Bowie. He made me feel more confident being a bit weird and not worrying about trying to fit in with my peers and not worry about...
Just before you continue, I don't read the mailbag. I didn't know he was going to pick this. Yeah. This is just coincidence.
Yeah, but a bit weird, not worrying, trying to fit on my peers, not worry about whatever my sexuality is too much, and just get on with it.
Yep.
Second is the Beastie Boys. I just love how much fun they were having. They really strike me as a band that does all the music they want to and not what is expected. And I also really respect their stance on their early misogynistic music or personas. Oh, and The Clash.
Oh, yeah.
Nimrod Hicks is in saying, Dear Monday Energy, I, like most, have many musical idols. Otis Redding, Nina Simone, the Beastie Boys, Leonard Cohen, Keith Richards, and Steve Cropper, just to mention a few. However, standing above them all is the towering colossus that is of genius that is Bob Dylan. Arguably the 20th century.
Dylan.
Arguably the 20th century's most important poet, Dylan's early work especially changed the world with its laser-sighted observation on the human condition delivered through an often surreal form where words evoke a sense of something rather than provide a description of it. The ghost electricity howled in the bones of her face, being a personal favourite. From his activist protest works of The Times They Are A-Changin', or the vicious barbed spitting anger of Masters of War to his 11.5-minute epic love letter that is The Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, Dylan finds the truth of any subject with his pen and delivers it through his music. For me, no one has come close to the extraordinary body of work he has produced, and no one speaks to my inner voice more accurately than Dylan. Pure genius. Love to all, Nimrod Hicks, and he has a thing for Kill It With Fire later, so I'll leave that for later.
Ooh.
Futile Exercises said, one of my early musical introductions was a band called Sugar. Their album Copper Blue was a permanent fixture in my Discman at the time. After picking up their rather limited catalogue of one more album and EP, got interested in their lead member Bob Mould and his other projects. This brought me to his previous band, Husker Du, and his solo material, and is sometimes accoladed as the godfather of grunge. He may not be my biggest idol, but his influence on my musical tastes in the early days of building my collection was substantial, and I think he deserves a bit more recognition.
Yeah, man.
Ray has come in with, I think I'll pick Gorillaz for this week. Funny enough, since the band is made up of cartoon characters, literally just idols, makes them fit the topic in a weird way. The virtual nature of the band means that nothing seems to be certain about their work. How many members do they actually have? What kind of shenanigan evil Murdoch Nichols is going to pull off this time? Which collaborating artist is showing up unannounced in the new song, and in what kind of a trippy way? And most importantly, what kind of music are they pulling out of the bag? Why does this matter, though? I find the general wackiness and unserious tone of the band creative and entertaining. I think above all, music should be fun, and Gorillaz is finding their fun in a unique way, and they keep doing it for years, turning seemingly gimmicky features into style with few replicas.
I really like it.
It is Damon Albarn, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm not getting confused. I thought it was. That fucking Clint Eastwood song. Like, bang.
I always like 19-2000. I thought it was a great song.
Yeah.
It's there. That's
That was Sean Ryder. Yeah.
Or Feel Good Inc.
Yeah. Feel good.
Best bass line in pop, that one.
It's a good bass line, that. Oof.
John Cheatham has come in saying, hi, Modern Escapism folks. I'll mention two. I'm going to butcher this one. The first is the band Ninjin Isu from Aomori in Japan. They formed in 1987 and are still prolifically releasing full-length albums every 1 or 2 years. They dress traditionally and write about Japanese ghost stories, folklore, and Buddhist culture, and have some concept albums based on certain manga. However, they sound like an old-school Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. They also effortlessly mix in thunderous doom metal and even some of their intense thrash sections when they feel like it, as well as a lot of proggy stuff, particularly in their 90s material. Lead guitarist Shinji Wajima may look like a tiny old man now, but could stand toe-to-toe with Hendrix, Iommi, May, or Blackmore. That's not even for me fanboying. I honestly believe he's one of the great under-celebrated guitarists. The number of riffs and solos he comes out with that would single-handedly put a band in singing in English on the main stage as a Bloodstock via a Metal Hammer cover feature is insane. They're criminally unknown and amazingly consistent, reliably cranking out albums 12 to 13 songs long that are great front to back. They played Ozfest Japan in 2013, which gave them a considerable boost in Japan, and they were a minor international sensation in 2019 when their song Heartless Scat went viral in certain parts of the internet. Go to their Spotify or Apple Music page and play something at random. If you don't like what you hear, then there may well be no salvaging your taste in music. Secondly, Jadakiss. This gravelly-voiced New York rapper has been a consistent wordsmith for over 2 decades now, since the early days of his group, the LOX, being signed to Diddy and appearing alongside Notorious B.I.G., to Jada popping up on the smash hit Jenny from the Block, to his status as a respected OG in the hip-hop industry now. Whether churning out radio hits alongside Nate Dogg back in the day, or supplying... I'm doing the silly voice here because I don't understand rap. Or supplying underground rappers and new talent with blistering guest verses, the man's dedication to his craft and to hip-hop is plain to see.
I've heard you rap. You know what rap is.
I know. I don't understand the hip-hop scene, though. I just like the songs. Jada has stated he listens obsessively, always staying immersed in what's coming out of the modern rap scenes as well as poring over the classics. As for his own work, there's always plenty of street wisdom and humour in his bars, making many of his verses unforgettable. I bought his second solo album the week it was out after hearing several of the songs on Westwood. We don't talk about that. I'm playing it back to back for months after.
Westwood.
To this day, I try to hear every song he records and every guest verse he does if I possibly can. He isn't in the GOAT discussion enough, but I guarantee he's one of your favourite rappers'
Yeah, he's cool.
Wow. And John Cheatham going for the Guinness World Record of most just crazy Spotify playlist.
Absolutely.
That man's got a taste, hasn't he? That man's got a taste.
Speaking of a man with a taste, Xenos.
Oh. Here we go.
Bit of an odd choice from me. The only person that comes to mind is Masayoshi Soken, the lead composer for Final Fantasy XIV.
Final Fantasy, yeah.
He has a taste.
He does.
The community loves the man, not just for the quality of music he's directed, but also because we found out last year during a major fan convention he'd spent most of 2020 receiving chemotherapy. We found out the same day he announced he was in remission, and while he'd been undergoing treatment, he composed one of the most heartrending pieces of music on the soundtrack. It's called To the Edge, and is being sung by the last survivor of a near-extinct civilization about how they have nothing left but the memories of what once was, while they try to kill you in the hopes of restoring it. However that works, without anyone else on the development team knowing he had cancer. The only one he told was the game's director, because being able to go on with his job as if nothing was wrong and nobody was worried about him gave him the stability he needed to keep doing it. One way or another, that man is an absolute legend. Aside from that, he's also part of Square's in-house band, The Primals, who run concerts during the aforementioned conventions. I believe he's their lead guitarist. Oh wait, no, there's someone else I need to add. The guy who runs the Device Orchestra YouTube channel is a goddamn genius.
I remember when what's his name? Nobuo Uematsu had his little metal band, the Black Majors.
Yeah.
Back in the early noughties. That was good. They don't care at Square Enix. It's like, yeah, go be a band. Go for it. Do it.
And last up, we have the Welsh weirdo herself. It's Super Natty Cat.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Tom Jones.
Yeah, she's been hitting the Twitter and the drink at the same time again.
Oh dear.
And she started off with, I for one see this platform, read Twitter, as the correct way, Biggie, you passive-aggressive bastard.
He is, isn't he? He's passive-aggressive. He's such a HR man.
He is.
Disgusting.
My idol is Gerard Way. I looked up to him as the lead singer of My Chemical Romance as a kid without knowing his addictions and his run-in with suicidal thoughts. He managed to overcome his addictions, have a family and kids, and continue his career. He then pursued the dream of being a comic book writer, and his amazing brain gave us Umbrella Academy, and he also does Doom Patrol, which is awesome. Then, after a massive mental health hit and a decade-long hiatus from My Chemical Romance, he returned, and they're better than ever. His mind is magical and strange and brilliant, and he pretends to be nothing but human despite his fame. He is my idol in so many ways, and I fancy him. That helps.
Oh God, she wants to join the Black Parade, doesn't she? Bless her.
I think she's part of it. I think when she saw them live, she snuck onto the tour bus or something.
She's in the marching band. Oh bless. My Chemical Romance. My friend once called them My Chemical Toilet, and it never left me. That it's so funny. I like them, but it's just funny that he called them that. In earnestness, he was like, oh, "That My Chemical Toilet band. It's not what they're called. It's not what they're called. It's cool. Tribute band. Is that it? Is that it all? Is that it all?
That's it all.
Thank you for writing in, everybody, and thank you for sharing your deepest idols. So, as always, links to all our extracurricular activities are in the show notes and at modernescapism.co.uk, and please consider becoming a patron to help support our endeavour. Next week, it's a funny one. It's our music album reviews. Basically, we're going to give each other an album to listen to this week and come back with a review. You lucky patrons will be able to hear us pick who we have randomly chosen from a randomly chosen website thing that Stig sent me a link to. and yeah, we're going to give it. So in the green room, you will hear us give that off. So if you're not a patron, I mean, it's the end of the show for you guys. Thank you for listening anyway, but see you in the green room, patrons. But to everyone else, goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, that's not showing up on Audacity, the old Fanny McGee blowing on my ass. Oh.